Plasma reflects your subconscious. If you're in a state of fear, you're going to see a demon. If you're in a state of love, you might see an angel. If you're in a state of neutrality, you might see a shimmering self that might have information or ideas for you. Plasma plays with you and responds to you. Have you ever had a thought like, oh, I wonder how Marissa's doing? Next day, Marissa calls me. Or, oh, I love the Alan Watts book. And then I see an Alan Watts poster. That's reality speaking to you. UFOs are plasmoids. The UFOs with the layer of plasma around them, who knows what's really in that? Who knows what conscious entity is using that? Anything we're seeing in the sky that is a plasmoid, it's here to reflect our own beliefs. It's to show us our own power. And it's also higher dimensional beings that are carrying their consciousness, just saying hello. The real lesson, aliens are a distraction.
Let's start with your journey to discovering plasma.
Okay.
Yeah.
Am I starting now?
Yeah, you're starting now.
Sorry. Okay. Okay, amazing. Discovering plasma. Well, I kind of have to go back a little bit.
Or introduce yourself first, I guess.
Well, kind of the same thing, honestly.
Okay.
Yeah,
Fine.
I came here from a lightning bolt. No, actually, though. You know what's really weird? I looked up something and someone said that, like, if someone says they came here through lightning, that they're, like, trying to be a cult leader, and I'm not doing that at all.
What do you mean you came here through lightning, though? Or are you just joking?
So I'm adopted, and my birth father and birth mother, he was, like, I don't know, 20-something. She was, like, 17. And they slept together once. And 2 months, I found out before they slept together, for the one time only when I was conceived, he was struck by lightning. So I think that's kind of weird. And he has like little secret powers. And he told me that just a few years ago. And you know, lightning's plasma. So it's like my origin story, even if it's not true, I feel like it's cool. And then so my mom decided not to keep me because her family was really religious. And I was adopted. I moved to New York. Had a very rough childhood. I was very good at math and science, very smart, good writer, all that stuff. But I had really bad behavioral problems.
Was that like just related to school? Like you couldn't sit still type of thing, or?
I just like acted out. They diagnosed me with oppositional defiance disorder, but I really think I just like didn't understand why we were learning stupid shit.
No, of course. That's why I was asking.
Yeah. And then I was boy crazy. I didn't pay attention to anything. And people were bullying me all the time. So I would fight back, which wasn't allowed by a girl, I guess. Like I kicked this one guy in the balls and I almost couldn't walk my 6th grade graduation. It was very sad. Anyway, so yeah, I had a lot of behavioral issues. And then I developed a drug addiction when I was 14 to cocaine. So I was drinking and doing that for like 7 years straight. And I feel like when I was a kid, I was very gifted. Like I was writing poems like a wizard that you would write from like the 1700s, like romantic poems about like time and death and all this stuff. I was drawing photos of aliens. Like I feel like I'm that again now. But I lost my way because I had a lot of like trauma. And I think that my intuition, I had to shut off. So I couldn't, because I was picking up on so many horrible things around me, if that makes sense.
Yeah.
So yeah, and this will all lead to the plasma stuff.
That's fine.
So then, yeah, I didn't go to college. I went to rehab instead. And then I got sober. And throughout my 20s, I had a string of like really bad relationships, struggled with friends, had a lot of friends die and overdose, still a very hard time. And then moved to Los Angeles to become a filmmaker and actor because I always like wanted to do something big, but I didn't know what it would be. And the movies show you, the only way to do that is acting. So I thought that's like what I was trying to what I maybe remembered for my future, of like doing something important kind of. And then I was in once again, a bad relationship and I was feeling horrible about myself. And I was like, I just want to feel better. And the only thing I had left to do, because I've tried every kind of addiction, like, everything you could think of, is meditate and, get back to that. So I signed up for transcendental meditation. And my 3rd time meditating, I all of a sudden, and I've probably never heard of plasma, probably like once or twice in like, I don't know, chemistry or physics, but I was not listening. All of a sudden, I just knew everything about plasma. Like, something I saw like an infinity symbol and all of a sudden I knew it was like a feedback loop. And then all of a sudden the word plasma came into my mind and it was like this fractal pink opalescent womb I was like in my 3rd eye. But like, I was like, it was almost like I could cry and I was like feeling this love I've never felt that I knew was like always there, always has been there. We always go back to it. And it's almost like it spoke to me anthropomorphically and was like, people don't understand me. Like they're not seeing me for who I really am. Like science is studying me, but like they're trying to trap me. They're coming from control and capitalism and fear. And like, I'm this whole thing. Like they're looking at the foot of an elephant and I'm the entire rainbow elephant and I love you and I'm here to support you and all of your fears projected on me. And I knew it was like the vehicle for consciousness and information, which I'm happy to get into.
Moment.
Huh?
In that moment.
In that moment, I just knew it was like 12 million words in one moment. So yeah, it was like basically like the definition I kind of had is like it's multidimensional, it is sentient, it is not conscious, it is sentient. Like it's basically pure feeling. But it has the river of consciousness is within it, like it holds it, right? And it can contain it or it can go through it. And it's almost like animism where everything's just alive, but not, I wouldn't say conscious, I would say sentient. And then consciousness the river runs through it, right? And then I knew it was like quasi-neutral, like, but slightly feminine, but it has masculine and feminine properties. I knew it was intelligent, it has intelligence. So if you think of like Plato's theory of forms or this perfect realm, I would call that like awareness, intelligence. There's like these perfect patterns, let's say, and they almost come through plasma to us. But kind of what I hate the word channel, but what I sensed, what I at least think of my perspective
What you
is
intuited.
When I intuited, that's a great word. I'm going to use that from now on. Is that realm of perfect forms is not perfect. It's actually feedbacking with us through plasma as the glue of the universe, and it's evolving as we are. We're evolving alongside each other.
We're both informing each other?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. So I think that was really interesting to me. And they have future ancestors, I call them, they have this whole wider perspective that we don't have, but they don't understand emotion. That's a human thing. They're learning that from us. They're learning how to work with plasma from us with emotion because they use feeling. They use like awe, curiosity. They have contrast, but it's not as like dual as like.
Okay, when you say they though.
Yeah, sorry.
Be a little
I
more
just went
specific.
on a tangent.
No, please, that's fine.
Yeah,
I'm picking up what you're putting down.
Yeah. I don't know, to be completely honest,
Okay.
but the way I can say it in like my human brain, I call them our future ancestors where they're like outside of time and space. So they're almost both. And think about your higher self. It's chilling there right now.
Okay.
It's us. It's like our family.
Okay.
It's like an expanded version of us. That's the way I at least see it. And they don't want us to pray to them. They don't want to be put on a pedestal. It's what some people do call heaven. It's not God though. It's like, if like God or awareness was here, it's like right underneath.
The layer below it.
Yeah. And it's like what we connect to for like ideas, inspiration, our higher selves. And yeah, I just felt really connected to that. Anyway, what I'm going back to now is in that moment, my higher self came through and she's like, you're going to write a book, A New Force. It's going to be one of many. So she didn't give me an ego. She's like, it's going to be one of many books that help shift the world to a new paradigm that has to do with plasma. She was like, you're not in competition with everyone. Everyone's going to have their own perspectives. You are not to like fight with those or put pushers on people. Like there's a beautiful relationship for everyone to have with it. Almost like a female god in a way, kind of like consciousness is like the male god and plasma is like the female god. She was like, just like have fun and like get some therapy for your trauma so you don't like project your own shit onto people or think you're like this god or to be put on a pedestal. Anyway, that all happened in this meditation of like 20 minutes. I came out of it and I was like, holy shit, no one's ever going to date me again. Like I'm going to become the weirdest person ever. So
what year was this?
This was 2021, I think.
Okay.
I'm almost done. I didn't tell anyone about this for like 4 years. And then I started posting about it on TikTok for a secret TikTok for a year. It blew up. And then my dad passed last year in January. And I was like, it gave me this realization like, oh my God, I could die tomorrow. I need to just live from my heart, right? Like not worry about being a famous fucking actor or director. Like do what's in my heart and like let life just surprise me. And then I just followed the feeling of what I felt like was my true self. It led me here. I wrote the book, through my dad in a coma when he passed. It took 9 months, came out in September. This is the book, everyone. Go buy it.
It's a massive book.
If you want. If you don't want to, fine. I don't care. I'm like the worst marketer ever.
We'll keep it in the show notes.
Yeah,
though.
if it resonates. And then, now I'm just doing my thing and who knows where I'll end up. I'm just like, who knows what I'll do tomorrow is basically it. Like, I don't plan on outcomes. Like, I kind of can see future potentials, but I'm just kind of on the ride and trying to enjoy my life. But I'm also like, mentally ill sometimes and struggle with so many things.
Sounds like the rest of us. That's all good. I love the authenticity there.
Yeah.
We also have your dog Danica here.
Yes.
Literally a dog, not like your homie Danica. You do your homie.
My
Dylan
dog Dylan's right here.
The other dog Dylan is off camera right there. So, where does your definition of plasma differ from that of the mainstream, which describes it as the fourth state of matter? And I think they kind of leave it at that. They give lip service to some like electrical thing, and there might be some interaction with the human body and living things that have a field, an electromagnetic field surrounding them. I don't know if
they're coming around.
Okay, they're coming around, but where do you differ from the common mainstream conception of what plasma is?
Sure. So yeah, in science, it's an ionized gas. It's basically, so there's solid, liquid, gas, plasma, and this is the only state of those four where the electrons are free from the nucleus, which makes it almost shape-shiftable and moldable by electromagnetic waves. And they're realizing now that plasma is actually not just the state of matter. There's this guy, Dr. Patrick Van Rees, that talks about this in Belgium, things like the University of Antwerp, how plasma is actually a set of behaviors of reality. Okay. So plasma is almost like the ocean underneath the other states of matter. And you can, in material science now, you can almost like massage the solids to make the plasma behaviors come out. And that's how we're coming up with these like metamaterials and almost mixing like biology and physics, biophysics. So there's these really new, there's this other field, edge and hinge physics, which people should look up, really topography, topology. There's all these new things that have to do with plasma and science and how it's basically almost merging with what I'm about to say. So yeah, plasma is almost like the fabric of reality. And I think science is finally coming around to the ether again.
Okay, is plasma different than ether?
No.
You look at it as the same thing?
The same thing. So, but plasma is a more coagulated. So plasma in science is atomic, right? It is matter. It is observable. It has exotic properties. They don't quite understand everything still. It's the most least understood state of matter, but makes up 99.9% visible reality. Yeah. And there's been a lot of stuff.
And rather than dark matter, empty space, I've never bought that
plasma.
Nonsense. Yeah,
it's literally.
Yeah, there's
other plasmas.
Interconnected space between all things.
Yeah, there's other plasmas. So, but the interesting thing is, so the ether, they came up, first they called it radiant matter in like 1868 or something, whatever. Sir William Crookes came up with that. Then Nikola Tesla was working with it. He called it radiant matter too, but it was plasma. Irving Langmuir named it plasma in 1928. But in between that, there was this thing called luminiferous ether, which they said radiant matter, they thought maybe, or there's like a finer state of matter, or the fifth state or fifth element. But these guys said that it was static. So they tested it in the Michelson-Morley experiment.
Yeah, very familiar. We talked about that a lot.
Testing the static, but they weren't testing like a flux fucking ether. So anyway, that became defunct. They forgot about the ether. Then obviously Einstein, before his death, said he retracted his statement, say there must be an ether. I'm saying what you already know.
No, this is good. This is a good reminder too. Because there's also Aries failure too, which they attempted to disprove ether, and they actually had measurable ether drift or ether wind.
Yeah, there you go. Yeah, because it's a flux. It's not static. And reality, so plasma is the fabric of reality. My definition is multidimensional. It is sentient, meaning it is feeling, it is sense, which I will connect with in a second with how we sense it, because it's not our five senses. We can connect with it through our holistic sense, what I call plasma intelligence. It is the vehicle for consciousness and information or intelligence. So basically, the way you can think about it in the future is we're going to have like plasma computers that are sentient and almost can pick up your consciousness and feedback with it, like personally for you, but it's not like AI consciousness. Mm-hmm. And AI will be able to work with plasma in like really cool ways because plasma has these self-organizing natural abilities to, Plato called it the wet nurse. It's something that can take on the other four elements without becoming them. It's like that kind of thing. And it's the vehicle for consciousness too, because you have a bioplasma layer around you, of course, like Eileen McCusick would say, that is holding your consciousness, right? So it's the vehicle for consciousness. And it also holds information and science. To summarize, it is a, quasi-neutral, slightly feminine leaning receptive substance. You can call it intelligent clay of the universe, cosmic mirror of the universe that consciousness kind of uses to experience itself, but it has its own beautiful intelligence. They work together to create matter, to create our reality experience. Yeah, multidimensional, sentient, intelligent fabric of reality that is the vehicle for consciousness and information.
Would you say that it is slightly feminine in its qualities because it's a receiver, whereas consciousness is the male aspect of it, is the active agent that comes into plasma, essentially?
Yes, and that is so we can create our reality experience. So if everything was consciousness, which I do differ people saying that with, how would consciousness...
Unpack that real quick before we go there.
Consciousness is this. It's the active, right? It's the masculine. It's a slight, once again, not a feminist, but it's a slight patriarchal view where everything must be this active element kind of, right? And it's like, how does it experience itself? It needs a differentiator, right? Plasma comes in. It's like this cosmic mirror and cosmic clay that consciousness uses to experience itself. but it dances with consciousness. It has its own intelligence. And just like the divine feminine and the goddess things have been suppressed or have been made evil for thousands of years, so is plasma, right? It has not been in our consciousness, but plasma is what holds your magic. Plasma is the Akashic field, right? It holds memory. It holds imprinted consciousness. And we work with that to create a reality. And we haven't been, aware of that.
So it requires, going back to like the male and masculine and feminine dynamic of this, it requires both consciousness and plasma in order to create within the context of this realm.
I think so.
Okay.
And it's literally how a child is created. It's like, it's a principle everywhere. So why the heck are we saying, it's just like saying there's one God, but there used to be multiple gods and there used to be a male and female God. It's like, even if there is the one, like, how do we actually know that? Like, what if there's infinity beyond that? Like, we don't know. And I'm intuiting, and I think a lot of people are, that there's more than just this thing. It takes two, you know?
Yeah.
That's like, I think Earth is the most beautiful mirror of how things are up there.
Okay.
Like, I think here we're training how to be in relationship with people. So when we die, we can be like that. Like, for instance, when I don't know if I should get into this, Maharishi asking her questions, but I'll just say it quick.
No, please.
Have you ever experienced
it makes my job easier when you talk more, because then more ideas come to me to ask questions.
Have you ever experienced like another conscious entity, or maybe unconscious, but something coming to visit you, right? Have you ever had? Yeah. So if we know now the mechanics of plasma, just like you have a plasma field around you, everything does. That's how like a psychic could get information. It holds memory, right? A being, a higher dimensional being or an other dimensional being, it has that same field around it. Plasma reflects your subconscious. I don't remember why I'm telling you this, but I'm just going to go with it.
Keep going.
So it reflects your subconscious. If you're in a state of fear, you're going to see a demon. If you're in a state of love, you might see an angel. If you're in a state of neutrality, you might see it's like opalescent, holographic, shimmering self that might have like information or ideas for you. You might see a demon and actually be like, oh my God, this isn't trying to possess me. This is a traumatic memory I'm having. And how can I almost go past my subconscious filter and see what real memory from my childhood, like I've been suppressing, that it's trying to show me. Plasma almost has this built-in mechanism to evolve us. We're not victim to this, and we hold all the power. Okay, so the reason I'm telling you this of when you come into contact with other things is that your plasma on one, it's a cosmic two-way mirror. So like, if you're in like jail, which most people are in an interrogation room, you're seeing yourself in the two-way mirror. But if you look like this, you can see past it.
Yeah.
That's plasma. It is two layers. So when the first layer reflects your subconscious, it's just the same as when you're meeting people, right? They reflect your projections before you see who they really are. Most of us are human like that. When we die, I believe we die with our beliefs. So when we go into this finer layer of plasma, that's I think what karma is. I don't think you're being punished. I think it's a feedback system with plasma. So your beliefs, the way you treat people, that's going to be reflected in that way too. I don't know why I cared to say that, but
no, that's interesting. When I interviewed Dr. Bruce Grayson, we did a virtual interview, and he's studied near-death experiences academically, if you will. And I asked him that same question. I said, is there an element of when you die, your beliefs are reflected back to you? So if you're like, let's say as an example, you're a very, very dogmatic Catholic who also carries a ton of shame, as a lot of Catholics do, and has this like lingering belief that I'm not good enough, Christ isn't going to accept me, I'm going to hell. Will that reflect back to you in your death experience? And he said, in some cases, that is absolutely what happens.
I've heard of that.
That your beliefs are reflected back to you.
Yeah.
I'm paraphrasing what he said. I don't remember exactly what he said, but it was essentially what I got is that's what happens in many of the cases. Your belief systems, your deeply held belief systems are reflected back to you in moments in the death experience.
Yeah. Yeah. So if we learn the mechanics of that stuff now, we don't have to deal with that. And it's cool because it means you can have any beautiful religious or spiritual belief. Just know that will follow you. So like, what do you want to bring with you? And that's like consciously dying, right? And also, if you think about it, if plasma is like the glue to all these other worlds, the more we consciously connect with plasma, the more we can maybe like thin the veil and who knows what we can play with or like what's beyond this,
Totally. So going back, you think ether and plasma are synonymous. They're two different ways to say the same thing?
No. So, yes.
Or would you say plasma is an aspect of ether? Because I'll just share the way that I look at it.
No, tell me,
And I'm pretty sure this is the way Eileen views it. And this is not to say that that's correct.
No, tell me. I know it.
Is that ether is the primary sort of subtle substrate in which all things arise.
Yep.
And plasma is a more concentrated aspect of ether.
Yes. So yes, 100%. I agree with everything you just said. what's easier for me is, so like ether, just because the name kind of got messed up, right? But think about it, ether, very feminine, plasma, very feminine, just something funny to think of. Plasma for me, I like to use it as the entire thing. And I actually use plasma as like there's third dimensional plasma or like our material plasma, right? And then there's subtle plasma, which is what you would call ether. And then there's something I call like omniplasma, which is like the finest thing you could think of. That's even like finer than ether. That's like where makes up where our higher selves are. So it's like kind of like.
So omniplasma would be that which
like is 5D.
Yeah, that's what I was going to say is almost like outside of this realm. And I don't mean it that
outside
way.
of time and space.
Yes, okay.
Like ether's to like 4D. It's circular time. It's inside. It's like the subconscious ether makes up. And then there's like the super conscious, as Carl Jung would say, which this omniplasma makes up. Yeah. So like to me, there's 3 layers. They're perspective dimensions though. Like if you think about every religion, heaven, earth, hell. In magic, there's like 3 levels. There's that 3 is very important. So I'm not saying there's not 25 million dimensions, whatever, but perspective dimensions, our consciousness seems to function in these 3. And I call the multidimensional self being able to access all of those. So as humans, we can live from 5D or omniplasma, right? And we can have the perspective of 3D. We can be stuck in 4D where we're like recognized and aware of our trauma patterns. We can be stuck in 3D survival and not aware of these other 2. But the human experience, the multidimensional human experience, is to operate in all of them, not just on one, and not just up here thinking you're like fucking ascending.
Oh, that's so interesting. I just like came up with so many parallels in my mind with that. It's like the 3D version of plasma is akin to a very materialistic worldview. That's where like science is stuck in with respect to plasma. And also you could look at it as from a Rudolf Steiner perspective, like that's the aromatic nature of plasma. Whereas the 5D version, not that it's bad or wrong or like purely good, not that we need to escape or transcend the materialism to go there, which a lot of people in the spiritual community are trying to do, either consciously or unwittingly.
No, we need to bring it down
transcend
here.
Transcend the ego. Yeah, exactly. That's more of the Luciferian aspect, again, according to Steiner's framework. And that's like the woo-woo new age community who is like way, way, way too detached from reality, let's say. And then the middle path is that, like Steiner would call that the Christ path, if I remember correctly, is bringing both together into the heart, into the 4D, which is so also interesting because the law of one talks about how we're graduating from 3rd density to 4th density, and 4th density is the heart, and that's unconditional love. So it's like bridging between the 2 into 4th density, essentially.
So
that was a huge ramble. I don't even know if that made sense.
No, it made so much sense. Wait, I just had that in my book today. I want to see if I open up. So like I opened up
between those 700 pages,
but I'm going to find it. I opened up to the one page that I wanted, that I said that like I wondered what we were going to talk about. I'll open up to it, and it's going to be right here. And I opened up to this page, and I'm just going to, can I like read a little?
Please, go ahead.
Okay. So let's see. Hold on. I wrote this 4D plasma. Wait, do I want to start here? No.
Start wherever.
All right. I'm just going to read it a little. At first, 4D plasma feels like a veil, a confusing fog of emotion, memory, and distortion. It separates us from clarity, from our higher self, the truth. But why? Because it was running on fear, trauma, and unconscious programming. We were viewing this reality through the filters of what hurt us. But this 4D layer is shifting from a river of distortion to a pool of living feedback, a binder of realities, a creative interface. We are moving from being pulled by it to moving with it. It is widening. It is changing temperature. We feel it both in our bodies and psyches. We just can't name it. It's like falling and expanding at the same time. Where we were once subconsciously magnetized to fear, we're now twirling into curiosity, and it's a bit of a liminal area right now. It feels like something has been gripping us for so long, and now we're finally free, and we don't know what to do with ourselves. As that grip loosens, we may feel the actual tension and pain of breaking free from our self-imposed change. Even good change brings grief. I'm almost done. I have 2 more paragraphs.
Oh, this is great.
This 4D plasma is also awakening, like a sleeping giant, becoming a multifaceted warm pool, and we're learning that we can now float in it without needing to control it, without fearing we'll be carried away. We're learning surrender. At first, we feel the call, but it's scary. We stand at the edge of the river and hesitate. Then we jump, and the cold shock hits us. The overwhelm of hitting the water, the grief of swimming in old timelines, the ripples of trauma and ancestral pain. You may even feel like you're drowning. Eventually, when you stop fighting, you realize there's wisdom here. We feel without attaching. Emotions begin to organize into symbols. We hear our soul's voice. We harmonize with the water as our emotions become instruments. The icy river is now a lukewarm pool, a conductor of memory, intuition, remote sensing, and access to other timelines. And now we rise from this pool, cleansed of fear, open to feeling, harmonized and dripping with truth. This fifth dimensional space that all resonates within it was always there waiting for us inside our feelings underneath the river. The truth is, everything I've described as separate 3D, 4D, 5D seems to somehow be converging into this middle space, a vista, our new playground, and we get to choose how we interact with it. And then I have almost done. This quote, the river is everywhere at the same time. It is a source, and at the mouth, at the waterfall, at the ferry, at the current, in the ocean, and in the mountains everywhere.
That's awesome.
That's what we're saying.
Yeah.
So it's this liminal space. The space is in between. I talked about this yesterday. Like the Incas made the constellations using the spaces between the stars, like, the dark matter, dark energy, because the liminal, the in-between in life, that's where the beauty is. It's not at the goalposts. It's not at the outcomes. It's not at the successes. It's literally in the journey of that. But that is the most scary, unknown, void place to be, because it's like, you feel like you're falling, but I think people don't realize that falling is flying. And it's just about like moving with it rather than like being like, oh, I'm a victim. You know what I'm saying?
Totally get what you're saying.
Yeah.
Yeah. I have a question from your perspective about how our soul, if you will, plays into this. So I've said before that I view the soul, or the biofield rather, as the soul within the context of a body.
100%.
Is that what you... Okay.
So I think the soul is like our spaceship for our consciousness. It's what carries us when we die here, carries our consciousness. And that our biofield, our electromagnetic field that is held in a plasma bubble, that is our literal soul, and it carries us.
That's our soul within the context of the body.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah, and our body's like the coagulation of that. So if we can kind of actually, that's like, we're epigenetics, like we can consciously communicate with it, right? And it can change our physiology. I swear to God, I've changed my body and my looks by thoughts. And I if someone said that, I'd be like, you're a psycho, like you're spiritual bypassing. But I literally have done it. Mm-hmm. Yeah. So, I mean, it's not like I've done like anything crazy, but I've done like little things.
But it begs the question, like, how much is our conditioning, our preconceived ideas, and even those of us who are quote unquote spiritual seekers or interested in conversations like you and I are having right now. Yeah, I like that. Are limiting ourselves by all those things, by our perception. Because like even me being interested in this stuff, I still have those limiting, lingering thoughts and conditioning related to materialism. And then, of course, all the patterns and programs and stuff from my childhood and all that stuff.
Yeah.
But it's like, how powerful are we truly? And I look at our biofield as the thing that our thoughts and feelings are projected through. Yeah. And then the ether or the more subtle layer of plasma returns that back to us like a feedback loop. And that's where we describe like being in resonance with things that we're attracting for good or for bad. But it's like, if we can access that in a very, very direct way or a
we can.
Yeah, I know we can. And that's the thing is, it's like, I guess what I'm getting at is, I really wonder if this reality is purely an amalgamation of our individual belief systems overlapping.
It is.
Do you think that's
what I write about?
Okay. And the reason I bring that up is I came to this, I guess you could say from a metaphysical woo-woo-esque lens, but also from a philosophical lens. And what I mean by that, I'll just go on a brief tangent, and I'd love to hear you talk about this, is like, there's multiple philosophers who talk about how the only thing that you can prove with 100% certainty is experience happens. And what I mean by that is like, take a statement as simple as this cup is in my hand. Yeah. Like that should seem obvious. But the only way I quote unquote know this cup is in my hand is because I'm relying on my perceptions, my five senses, and then the other extra senses we have, if you will. Yeah. And it requires that I believe that those senses accurately describe reality for me. Yeah. Which means that the fundamental aspect of that is belief. I cannot prove with 100% certainty that my own beliefs about or my perceptions of reality, my five senses, my empirical senses, if you will, accurately describe reality to me. No. It is recursive. It is a feedback loop.
Recursion,
It is purely it's begging the question, circular reasoning. That's what I was looking for. And so the point that I'm getting at is the only thing we can prove with 100% certainty is experience happens. You couldn't even say I experience, because that presupposes you know who I is in the context of that. And that's recursive as well. And then when we look at things like the placebo effect, the nocebo effect, mass psychogenic illness, mass social contagion, the Maharishi effect, that indicates to me how much our belief systems not only impact our physiology, but seem to impact the nature of this experience itself.
Yes.
You know, so I would just love for you to share your thoughts on all that.
So, I call it plasma consciousness synergy. So like I talk about how like below space-time, plasma and consciousness work in a feedback loop that actually creates the laws of space-time and the laws of physics. So for instance, in theory, if we were all to believe at the same time, everyone on Earth, like believe, like without the doubt that we could fly, we would all fly. But you know,
I'll use the same analogy, like if all of us believed, like truly believe, not fake belief,
real
the sky
belief.
Turned red, would it actually turn red?
Yes.
See, this is where I wonder though.
Because it's almost like, go ahead.
This is where I wonder though, and I want you to keep going, like,
tell me.
Is there an objective program for this reality that is set forth by a divine, omniscient, omnipotent, omnipresent, omnibenevolent creator that we have a spectrum of play and co-creation within? Or is it purely that we are solely individuated versions of God that are the creators of this experience? You see what I'm saying?
I'm going to tell you. I'm going to tell you what I think. I don't think it was planned. I think that it is, plasma is like this neutral substance, right? Who knows how the fuck it got here? Who knows where the heck consciousness came from or when it, that is all
speculation.
We don't even need to know. I think that it is like we are in a creative flower of life, Garden of Eden, that is always growing. Reality is growing. That's why we discover more in physics. It's growing with us. It's not because we're getting smarter. We're actually evolving, right? Reality is evolving. We're evolving. I think it's just this thing where whenever, I don't know how to understand it, but like how consciousness kind of creates with its belief and it emerges into whatever it's meant to, and there's free will. I think there's maybe the determinism is almost like, I think that it's like a bubble. Like there's like, think about thousands of universes like this or realities where there's all these, the way I see it is like there's our 3D, 4D, 5D, right? 3D, 4D, 5D is in a bubble. And we have in that all different timelines that are fractaled in the bubble. So there's 3 dimensions of perspective, and then there's infinite timelines of me, right? Of Dana doing a million things, making a million choices, and then that's in a bubble. And then there's another bubble where I am a blue dinosaur with infinite timelines, and then it's like 3D, 45, or maybe their laws are different, right? But we're in this bubble. And I think within that, it's like a flower of life where yes, there's like some containment, but it's constantly regenerating, like new stuff is flowering through, but it's like within a geometric kind of thing. But I don't know if that makes sense. Like, I think there is a structure. I don't think though, like someone
You don't think it's fixed?
No.
Okay. I just really struggle with that because
explain more. Maybe I can.
I like the idea that there is, again, all the omnis, omniscient, omnipotent, omnipresent, omnibenevolent creator that most people call God, although there's many names for that force that has set forth laws of this reality that we are still discovering, many of which we know deeply in our heart. Like you could even say from a moral perspective, just as a side tangent, I do believe, ironically, that there is such thing as objective morality, although it's not written anywhere. I would say like the Bible or religious texts are the best representation, humans trying to describe that which is
like real unconditional love.
Yes, because there's a reason that when the overwhelming majority of people see something that is unbelievably vile, think like worst thing that you could see happening, like a human being doing a horrible, abhorrent act to another human being, we cringe. And we cringe because there is objective morality written on our hearts. And I think the people who do not cringe at that are the people that have become so fractured in their psyche due to the trauma that they've experienced in their childhood, which they may have experienced that exact same thing. So it's fractured them. But the point that I'm getting at is like, I think the creator wrote those sort of things, encoded them into reality, and they are fixed.
Interesting.
And then we have a spectrum of co-creation within that.
Yeah.
Like, I wonder, for example, the thing you brought up, like if we all truly fundamentally believed that we could fly, could we fly?
Yeah.
Yes, I do think that. And I wonder if there's a limit to that. Like,
Yeah.
Like, is there an aspect of this reality that is fundamentally fixed, and we're like, we have a creative spectrum within that? You see what I'm getting at?
I do. I've thought that for a while too, but like, I really think that like it is limitless, like what this reality could turn into. Am I like delusional and think it'll be a utopia tomorrow? No. But I think that it's, once again, like creative, and like the possibilities are endless. I think there is a structure though, right? Like I think the 4D is structure. Like I think there's
And you think it's like a collective beliefs create the structure?
Yeah.
Like I think create the quote unquote objectivity of reality.
Here's the thing. I think what I call like 5D or future ancestors, I think we're both creating it together, right?
Okay.
I think we're both in feedback. But here's the thing. I think there's thousands of cajillions of bubbles that are doing the same thing.
Yeah.
The way I'm intuiting it right now, I'm using that word again, I'm seeing like a bunch of marbles. And like, let's say that there's a God beyond the God we think, right? Let's say there's like something like turtles all the way down, turtles all the way up, whatever. Like that's kind of the way I'm seeing it. Like we don't even know. And like everything, it's almost like a layer of onions. Like it'll just keep unfolding. And like we think we have this one conception, but like 1,000 million years from now, there'll be like all these other, like literally it unfolds. Like I don't know how else to explain it. It's showing me that like, this kind of funny, but it's not like meant to be like nihilistic or existentialism or whatever, but it's almost like there's like all these marbles and this voice is just like, yeah, you're just like the yellow marble. Like it's not that big of a deal. Like,
okay.
It's like, that's the way but it's in the most like loving, whimsical, absurd way. But it's just like, it's almost like it wasn't even intentional. Like it was almost just like, there's all these things, you're never going to understand it. And what truly matters is like how you form a relationship with whatever this is that we will never understand, that is mysterious. And like, instead of trying to understand the mystery, which we all want to, because it's like so annoying, how are you going to be in a relationship with that? And now how are you going to be in a relationship with your beliefs? How are you going to create the reality not just you want, but how are you going to learn to work with it to unfold what's for like your highest good and work with this like whimsical mystery? Like that is like the juice of life, I feel like. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, I love that.
But it's way more interesting sometimes when we don't want to dive into that, to just think about those things as well.
It's like the conceptual aspect of it. I really...
Yeah.
I totally agree. I think it is an infinite mystery that we will never truly figure out.
I don't.
And the more that we learn, the more it becomes clear for those who are genuine seekers, the more that like we don't know shit.
Yeah.
You know
that's
what I mean?
The thing, we don't know.
We don't know shit.
The more you know, you don't know.
Yeah, exactly. And for me, it's like there's still a longing to try to figure it out. Like that's why I love having conversations like this. And like, of course, that's probably why parts of you wrote your book. It's like, I want to try to figure out how the mechanisms of how all this works. And it's like,
go ahead.
If you have a thought, go ahead.
Oh, I was just going to say, you remember how everything's in the in-between?
Yeah.
The in-between.
What do you mean by that specifically?
Yeah. So like, I don't know even, but like, here, I'll say this, then maybe it'll make sense. Like, okay, so like, instead of figuring out God, in between is a relationship. Like when you're in love with someone, are you trying to figure them out? Or is it more like the feedback and the essence of love that is so beautiful, right? And like understanding and seeing them and knowing you'll never fully figure them out. And like it becomes a mystery and a surprise as you grow and unfold. That is what I'm saying. Like the in-between, the essence, the mystery, like that is it. Like it is actually not the thing we're trying to figure out. It is, and it's not even explainable. It just is. And then you can kind of laugh, and then you go back tomorrow to like fucking trying to figure it out again.
Totally, 100%.
You know,
100%.
Yeah.
With all that being said, I want to go back to the co-creative aspect of it, and how beliefs and perception work mechanically, if you will, with plasma. And I want to ask you about that. And the reason is because it is very clear to me, as I said, by looking into the placebo effect, the nocebo effect, all those things that I mentioned, that our thoughts and our feelings and our deeply held beliefs, and I would argue our false identities, which lie below them, are what is informing reality, and like literally creating things like the concept of an egregore, where there's like such a deep thought form and feeling related to one specific thing that like it literally creates the conditions for that to occur in reality.
They're all over.
So I would just love to hear how plasma sort of fits into that picture in your mind.
Yeah. So egregores or pendulums are like coagulated plasma that have been imprinted with consciousness. So the more conscious of religion is an egregore. Every belief is a freaking egregore, and everything think about the field and it's coagulated knots, and everything imprinted onto it becomes like different knots, right? And you can either choose to resonate with them or not. And once you realize that, nothing can stick to you, and reality gets really interesting, but we all get stuck in those anyway. Like me saying I'm old because I'm 37, that's an egregore. You know what I mean?
That's
and
a pendulum, and reality transurfing-esque pendulum?
But New Zealand, which I did not read the whole book. I read like 5 sentences.
It's huge, just like your book.
Yeah, and I act like I know what I'm talking about, even though I read like fucking, and then ChatGPT'd it. Yeah, so there's that. And so there's that with like plasma coagulating. That's like how I see those like belief knots or whatever. And I think like, the most important thing is to understand. So like, okay, I say like, oh, I'm old, I'm 37, which isn't true. That'll actually, if I said that every day, I would start to look older. But a lot of the time I say I'm immortal. So thank God that like, I think makes me like reverse age. But the way that works is that subtle plasma, ether, when you're speaking the words, the vibration, it's connecting with vibration and then your olfactory senses, which is like your instincts, it's almost like your survival, your desire, that what I call plasma intelligence. That is your first sense. It is your holistic sense. And that combined with your 5 actual senses creates the 6th sense, which is intuition. If we can get back to this first plasma intelligence sense, that is our toroidal field that picks up on things. I don't name this water. I can pick up on the energy of it and get everything else without naming our perception and our optics of what it is, right? It's like really feeling the true memory of what things are, if that makes any sense. And picking up with everything within that.
Do you think all of the so-called extrasensory phenomena are really just a function of the plasma intelligence, the biofield in a variety of different ways?
Telekinesis, 100%. Yeah,
that's what I've thought
and
too.
It's creative too, and it's exciting. And there's so much we don't even know about it yet, and there's so many magic powers that we don't even know about. But yeah, to finish my thought, when we have the plasma intelligence, like okay, so let's say I'm 37, I'm blah, blah, blah. That will connect in the field. The way it scientifically, I think, is feeding back with me. And there's a guy, I think his name is Dr. Dan Burish. He talked about this at Caltech 20 years ago. It's a little viewed video on YouTube. Somehow, he called them plasma portals. Somehow, these weird exotic plasmas and these like ether plasmas connect with your RNA and are in feedback with somehow your RNA to your DNA on how you actually are created. And then with reality, that's a whole different story. But yeah, there's something weird with like the plasma, the ether, the RNA, the communication.
Or you say the water of your body.
Huh?
Or you could say the waters of your body.
Yeah. It's all because it's vibration, right? I think there's so many ways. I don't think there's just one.
Most healthcare today operates on an outdated mechanistic model, treating the body like a battlefield rather than a self-healing system. You wait months for an appointment only to receive a rush diagnosis that labels you rather than truly understanding your unique health. Even in holistic health, many practitioners rely on endless lab tests and supplement protocols, addressing symptoms instead of the root cause. And the result? Another prescription or supplement regimen that merely suppresses or masks symptoms rather than facilitating true healing, whether the imbalance was physical, emotional, energetic, or a mix of all three. And that's why Dr. Tom Cowan co-founded the New Biology Clinic, to offer something radically different. As one of the most respected natural health doctors in the world, Dr. Cowan has spent decades challenging conventional medicine and advancing a deeper understanding of human biology, water, and natural health. His work isn't just about rejecting the mainstream, it's about offering a more truthful, biologically coherent approach for healing. The New Biology Clinic recognizes that health isn't about fighting disease, it's about restoring balance. You're not a diagnosis, you're an individual with a unique story, and healing should honor that. With virtual consultations available worldwide, the clinic offers a flat-rate monthly membership that gives you direct access to practitioners who take the time to actually listen. Members also get exclusive health live streams, a resource library, and live sessions covering everything from biofield tuning and breathwork to movement and meditation, all designed to support whole body healing. And if you're not ready for a membership, you can book a one-time appointment, sign up for an enrichment-only membership for the healing modalities alone, or schedule a free connection session with one of the care team members to see how the New Biology Clinic can help in your specific situation. This isn't about keeping you dependent on doctors. It's about making you sovereign over your health. Head to newbiologyclinic.com and use code THEWAYFORWARD, and that's spelled The Way, F-O-R-W-A-R-D, for $50 off account activation, or just head to the show notes for more info. If you're a member of The Way Forward, email hello@thewayforward.com for $150 off. Your body already knows how to heal, and New Biology Clinic helps you remember. Goes with the whole idea that, because I don't buy the modern, like the whole idea of the genetics dogma, which is literally what it's called.
I don't even know about it, really.
I don't buy the whole like current model of genetics at all.
Yeah.
I think it's more that DNA, if that is even a thing, is a fractal antenna that is receiving information. And the way that I look at it is, it's like, obviously your beliefs and your feelings and your thoughts are informing that antenna, which then informs the waters of your body to create certain physical conditions in you, for better or for worse. But you're in a dance between your field and other fields, individuated fields. That's why, like, if you're someone who already has a weakened perception and very fear-based belief systems, and then you're around a ton of non-native EMFs, you're spending way too much time indoors, you're eating food that isn't life-giving, that is going to, well...
I'm just kidding.
She was talking
Shout
about...
out Outback.
Shout out Outback Steakhouse.
The followers of him will probably be like, no.
No, it's okay. I mean, there's been worse. Someone sat in that exact chair with a Dr. Pepper, like right there. And it was so funny because it was a good interview. It was an interview on some stuff happened geopolitically, but so many people who watched the episode were fixated on what was next to them. They're like, how could you possibly interview someone who's drinking a Dr. Pepper? I'm like, that doesn't mean they can't have good things to say or that they're not.
Here's the thing though. My friend Dylan was saying this. You can't escape it. I'm using your thing, Dylan. Like literally like, well, this is maybe okay, whatever. But like there's just these systems in America or whatever and in the world that like, you know, are darker and ran by these crazy things. And it's like, we can't fully escape it because it's like built in the structure of everything.
Is that a belief though?
I think it's a belief. Dylan maybe doesn't, but I think it's eventually we can transcend that.
Well, this is what I was going to say. It kind of feeds into that exact point.
But I'll feed into it because I want to go to Outback Steakhouse.
Okay. Well, this is my point though. Is like, this is actually a piece of my point, right?
Yeah.
Where it's like, if you already have negative perceptions of self, you're just swimming in that, and belief systems that are very fear-based, and then you add non-native EMFs and all the other things on top of that, you're going to become someone who's very, very sick in my perspective. Versus someone who's like very joyful, loving, playful, has a positive outlook on life, positive outlook on themselves. They aren't feeding into that unworthiness programming that so many of us struggle with. That's the lady who's 102 years old that's being interviewed by someone who's like, how did you make it this far? And she's like, yeah, I smoked cigarettes and drank Dr. Pepper.
I smoke cigarettes.
I smoke tobacco too. I smoke tobacco.
I can't stop. I love it. I'm just kidding.
I love tobacco.
It's my only vice, okay?
That's fair. Or Outback Steakhouse.
Okay.
But yeah, you see what I'm getting at, right? It's like,
it helps the stress. And that's what the real truth is. It's stress management. So like stress is taken in information. We're bubbles. Bubbles take in stress, but they know how to maximize. It's called like min-max energy maximization, whatever it's called. Like they know how to do that. We are a bubble. We can naturally do that by learning about plasma and consciousness and how to like take in stress information. And that's why all psychics get sick. They're taking in so much information and intelligence, and then they don't know how to wring out their own bubble, right? So you have to do grounding, you have to do qigong, like whatever works for you. Go play
biofield
soccer.
Tuning.
Yeah. My point is like, it all comes down to, I think I'll live long if I'm not stressed. I try to have fun, be whimsical. I'm still working on trauma, which is really annoying because like, yeah, that stresses me out. But at any moment, I know when I become conscious of it in the moment or aware of it, actually, I can drop any story and I can become this plasma bubble holding consciousness that has no story, right? And then I've all past, I hate the past life shit, even though it's interesting. Those are all stories too. So it's like, oh yeah, I did this in past life. And it's like, okay, well, let's let fucking go of all of that and create something new. Shut the fuck up. Even though I do like it kind of sometimes.
No, I mean, there's a lot of truth to it, right?
Yeah.
I'll set that aside. We can revisit the past life thing because I want to go back to this. It's like the more you're strengthening your own field and dissolving the limiting and fear-based beliefs, I think the less susceptible you are to be overcome, whether mentally or physically, by the other toxic things in our environment. That's kind of what I was trying to get at with that.
Okay, can I say one thing to interject? So yes, and the way it would work. So right now in cold plasma in science, they can clear forever chemicals from the water. They just came out this like 2 days ago, and I just did an Instagram reel about it. Think about it. Subtle plasma, if you're letting go of your logic, right? And if you're letting your own subtle plasma bubble do the same thing, clearing the forever chemicals of the thought processes, it will naturally take care of that. Yeah. If that makes any sense.
Totally makes sense.
Yes, the same pattern.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Explain that a little bit more though, what they discovered specifically. But I get it. It makes sense because like if you're mimicking the mechanisms of what they did within your field, which is like basically your thoughts and your perception into your field, it will create the conditions to be able to detox those forever chemicals. That's what you're getting at, right?
Yeah. So
what exactly did they discover though?
Let me see if I can get this right. So it's basically like cold fusion. So they use plasmoids. Okay. So there's this company, like, let's just take Vermeer can do it with, like, let's say carbon's in the air. Let's use air because I know about that more because I've been there. There's this company called Vermeer. They have this machine. I think it's called the Reformer. They are creating a plasmoid, which is I guess a cold plasma, maybe you could say, or like an intermediate plasma. And it is basically just like a type of plasma. And what they're doing, let's say they put methane, which is CH4, into it. A plasmoid, anything that is inserted in the plasmoid, it will become what is for its path of least resistance. It becomes what it's most like optimally supposed to become. That is just how plasmoids naturally work. They take in things and they make them they return them to their natural states, kind of, but most optimal states. That is literally if we surrender, what happens with our consciousness, right? When we're meditating and stuff. So just think about that when you lay your consciousness into the plasma field, you have those experiences of bliss. So CH4 goes in. The carbon is turned into graphene, the most like highest quality graphene they're making. And then the H4 is turned into clean hydrogen energy. So they're literally cleaning the air of toxic chemicals and creating beautiful things to help the earth and be synergistic with it. And it's I think it's a process called cavitation. And it has to do with like this upside down vortex thing, which is crazy because in the unicorn tapestries, the upside down vortex, the unicorn horn, the unicorn is putting its head in the water and cleaning the water. So it's literally the same fucking process. And the plasma is the unicorn because the unicorn only reveals itself to a virgin, but a virgin is someone who is pure of heart, meaning not I'm an ex-drug addict. It's not like you're perfect, but it means you are not owned by anyone and you're full of potential. So when you can become that yourself, you're taking in all this toxic stuff because we can't escape it. If you believe this, which I really do, you can take all that in and it'll naturally filter that out and you just surrender to your path and focus on that. And also you can take stuff in, you can pick what works because it's a creative, basically we're a victim to nothing. We don't have to take any story on if we don't want to.
Totally pretty agree cool with stuff. That. Totally
we can live till 200 if we want. I hope I live to at least 100 to prove some of the stuff I'm saying. But I still got to like work on some stuff. Which is probably limiting belief too, because I'm perfect now.
That's the irony, right? I wonder how deep that goes, though, again, going back to beliefs and perception, because I've even thought about this, and I'm going to go out on a limb and say something that might frustrate people that listen to this podcast, and that's okay. I'm not going to use the vaccine example. I'll use a different example.
Okay.
Let's say like a particle like glyphosate, right?
Yeah.
Obvious to us.
Yeah.
There is intention put within glyphosate, and the intention is for it to kill certain living things under the guise of helping with food production and crop yields on these conventional farms, right? Getting rid of weeds and things like this. So there's that we have to reconcile.
Yeah.
But let's say the intention of the chemical substance that is glyphosate was different. It was like, this is to help grow crops exponentially. It had nothing to do with killing weeds, right? And then you had millions and millions of people who are becoming increasingly afraid of glyphosate, angry about glyphosate, understandably within the context of like what's been occurring in reality. But let's say those same people truly foundationally flipped their beliefs around and thought, yeah, this glyphosate thing is great for helping food production. What I'm getting at is, do you think then glyphosate in this reality would become a life-giving chemical substance, or would it still have the objective nature of being toxic? Do you see what I'm saying?
So I don't know what this means philosophically. Oh my gosh. Okay. So there's a reason we cannot totally control or create reality, right? Reality is like very complex and there's so many, okay, we're co-creating with the mystery, right? Whatever I like calling it the mystery, the ineffable. That is not predictable. And also thinking about plasma, once again, when anything goes in, what does it do? It creates this path of least resistance, this most optimal state. I don't have the state of consciousness to know what that is. We always don't know best. If I wanted to manifest what I wanted 10 years ago, I would be miserable right now. So that's why I try to let life unfold rather than manifesting what I want right this moment.
It's like your free will acting within the confines of determinism, leading you a certain way that is set forth by your higher self. The law of one talks about this, that your higher self, if you will, which is like your fifth or sixth density version of you, creates a path for your life, like a roadmap almost, that you do have the ability to traverse within.
Yeah. You can go outside of it too.
And you can go outside of it too, but that's like when you fall off path, fall out of alignment with God, if you will.
Oh, interesting. See, I have a thought that's like, well, maybe not out of alignment, but I have a thought that like we have this almost like blueprint. So hear me out here. I'm a water drop, right? Yeah. I'm in a state of consciousness right now with all the trauma I've had. I've healed certain traumas and I make choices that I'm in the state of consciousness I'm able to. I actually think is that water drop across all timelines, that's deterministic because I can only access that state of consciousness and those future potentials and those past potentials, right? That is all fixed. The moment, this is why healing is so important, feeling your feelings. The moment, let's say I heal something with my father or I heal something from like drowning in a past life, all of a sudden a new form of consciousness is introduced into my field and all my future potentials change. So there's almost like no way to totally predict that. And our higher selves see all of the potentials in this current moment, but they actually don't see as we heal what those are until they're in the moment. And that's why the present is so beautiful and eternal. Right now, let's say I heal something and then I'm in a new state. Right now it can tell me all of the higher ringlets, tree-lit rings, right, of my potentials. But that's all it can tell me. And we're not supposed to have everything figured out. That's why we don't know everything. Of course. But we can sense that, if that makes any sense.
No, that makes sense. That totally makes sense. I just, how does that tie back into...
Can I tie back into the farming thing?
Yeah.
So tying back into the farming thing, I think that if we were all to believe that, yes, and maybe not. Like, yes, it could. And it also could be that, yes, maybe it's like built in, right? Programmed. I don't fucking know.
See, that's what
So I'm trying to get into this.
I didn't ask that to trap you in that.
No. I already was seeing that.
Okay.
I was picking up on that and I was trying to think because I'll always tell the truth. I don't have an ego where I'm like, that goes against what I'm thinking. I'm like, okay, now let me think about that. So in that state, there's some kind of natural vibrational resonance where whatever that is that thing.
That chemical substance.
Even underneath it, right? There's just something there, right? And that's in our dual universe. That's not in, I don't even think it's real in 5D because I think that's all love there. But in our 4D and 3D, there's some duality there, which like maybe hurts humanity in some way, right? But that's like how death hurts us here, but it also is beautiful in some other, like, I don't think we're meant to understand all that is what I'm saying. But then like yes or no, I don't know. It could change it. It could not. Who knows?
See, here's what I think on it. Just to share my 2 cents. I do not claim to be an expert on it at all.
Yeah.
And this goes back to my preconceived idea that I do think that there is a fixed aspect of reality to some degree. I think, again, objectively, the chemicals that go in to make the molecule glyphosate cause harm to human beings. But huge caveat. I think our belief and perception is so strong that we can trick ourselves into, well, not trick ourselves. We can fundamentally believe that glyphosate is not harmful. And as long as other aspects of our life are in alignment in many ways, it will not cause us any harm at all. And then maybe potentially someone could believe not only is it not harmful, they believe it is a life-giving substance. I don't know who the fuck could possibly think that at this point, but let's say, like theoretically, someone truly believes glyphosate is a good thing. And they hold that true to like the highest degree, that it is a life-giving thing, that it is beneficial to their health, that they could actually create the conditions for that. But what I think we're fighting with in this, and this is the irony when it comes to things like weather modification, and I'll get to what I think on that, is like the more people wake up to the harms of glyphosate, the more that we take the objective chemical nature of glyphosate, which I think does cause harm to human beings, and then apply more fear on top of it,
100%.
Thus creating an egregore, which makes it even more harmful to human beings.
And that's the goal.
Yes,
that's
exactly.
Like conspiracies are the conspiracy.
Dude, I say this about weather modification all the freaking time. So first off, like, I'm talking a lot and I'm sorry, but this obviously like plasma and ether, this is one of my favorite things to talk about.
I love
beliefs, perceptions.
No, this is great. I hate when people don't talk. I don't want to talk the whole time.
Okay, good.
There's a conversation.
I'm really sorry. I'm sorry to anyone watching and listening that wants to hear.
No one cares.
But yes, they do.
They're watching it for you. They're not. Guest.
They
continue.
Okay, sorry.
Glyphosate, beliefs, weather modification.
Okay, so do I think that the government and other nefarious actors are manipulating the weather? Yes.
Yeah,
do I think that overwhelmingly at the tippy top that there is a nefarious agenda behind it? Yes, I do.
Yeah, I do too.
100%.
But
and exactly.
Yes,
and when masses of people are waking up to the phenomenon of weather modification by government, and they don't have an understanding of our co-creative capacity in reality.
Yeah.
And they are focused on every single weather pattern that happens, some of which is man-made, some of which is naturally occurring. And on any given day, stepping out and looking at the weather, and they're like, oh, is this one going to be a man-made thing
that's
happening?
A victim mindset.
Victim mindset that is creating more conditions for that to occur in reality.
Instead of realizing we're all shamans and we can actually fight it back with love and co-create what we can turn them on their heads and weather modify with our fucking consciousness. And when they were using machines.
Bingo.
Yeah. 100%. Consciousness will trump machines and everything. That's also why I don't think I can beat the simulation theory for 2 seconds. But maybe in a different way, if you're using simulation, a non-technical machine aspect, right? Fine. But machines are a bastardization of what consciousness is. So I think consciousness will trump any technology ever. And that my next book is on this. The original technology is consciousness and plasma, right? It is the technology of the self, of the awareness, and that can rain down on all of this. But until we empower ourselves, realize we have the power, most of us are victims. And yes, basically, how conspiracy is a conspiracy, they're telling us how to think, what to do. Like the people dying of plasma, the 12 people who died of plasma, some of them didn't really get killed. And
you're talking about the 12 scientists that died?
So I was going
to bring that up to
So I don't think the point there, and prayers to everyone who died, that's literally terrible. I think some of them were natural. Maybe some people were killed because they went against certain things and there was all these things. The real fear with that message and why they put that out now is not the killing may be real in every case. It will scare us to not want to express ourselves because now we think we're going to be killed because there's this narrative of people being killed. And I can prove that because when I was writing my book, when you do what you're meant for in your destiny, you've had many lifetimes where you were killed with it, right? We have this archaic fear of being kicked out of the pack, of not being accepted, of being killed for doing what we love. When I was writing this book, I got so paranoid, I called the police because I heard a ruffling of the bushes outside. I was in Florida, a blonde girl calling the police. They probably thought I was on crack. The police come. I'm like, someone's in my house. No one's in my house. I think I'm about to get killed for my plasma book. Here I am. It came out. I didn't get killed. So my point is we can, as long as you're not messing maybe with technology right now, but just doing I think thinking you're going to get killed is a self-fulfilling prophecy. It's the egregore, the consciousness fear, black magic. That is the real fear. And I write about that in my book. Perfect. So the only way to take your power back from these people who we feel like we can't take our power back from because we're like little ants and they're so rich is having so much love in you that I want to become one of the first billionaires. I don't know how, but so much love that I'm going to get this awesome invention. I will have so much money and then I can give back and then there'll be more of us and all of a sudden it'll fucking flip.
Yeah, I love that. 100%.
Instead of being I got to play the game and do what they're doing to get this, I refuse. Yeah. And it's not like I don't give in to, I'm sure I shop at bad. I give into some of these capitalistic things and buy from them. I'm human. I don't know. I'm sorry. But as far as what I want to create, I at least want to try my hardest to create from love. Am I going to be perfect? No. But at least I'm not going to, for instance, I know right now on my Instagram, everyone watching it, I'm just going to be honest, I know the mind mechanics to manipulate many people, to sell many things. I like to come from the belief, here's my magic classes, here's my book, buy it if you want, if it resonates. I know that money will always provide for me. I don't need to be super rich either. It's a paradox. I just know I'm always provided for. But I know for some reason that I'm going to make a lot of money because I know I'm going to help people with it. Does that make sense?
Yeah, it totally makes sense. Okay. I want to make this next part a little bit more practical, if you will. How can let me ask it this way. What modern experiments are being done related to plasma that have quote unquote practical implications? With
plasmas in the fourth state of matter?
Just, yeah.
So
anything related to plasma that excites you right now, research that's being done on plasma, experiments that have been done on plasma. I know one that could arguably be plasma related.
Okay.
Is what was recently done with MD Anderson showing that healing in a specific type, I think it was the Bankston method of healing can...
This one guy ripped me apart for my show on that,
You made an Instagram post on that?
I made an Instagram post on it, but I didn't call it the Bankston method. I said it was just like Reiki because it's the same thing, but he got mad I didn't say the Bankston method.
Okay. Well...
Oops.
To be fair, maybe there is some, because I have a question to bring up related to transcendental meditation, because there seems to be something unique about that specific method of meditation.
Yeah, it's good to be specific.
Yeah. We'll talk about the transcendental meditation piece later, but
Bankston method.
Yeah, that is arguably, whether it's Reiki or the Bankston method, whatever. But the point is they showed
different structures to bring in the same energy.
Yeah, exactly. Different methods, different ways. There's multiple ways to skin a cat, in my opinion. But the point is, that they were able to demonstrate that through the Bankston method, which required no actual physical touch, it was just laying hands over, I think, both mice with pretty aggressive forms of cancer, and then also cell cultures where they're growing cancer cells were actually able to slow the growth, and in some cases completely resolve the cancer. And so I would argue that that's some sort of plasma-based phenomenon that is occurring there. Would you?
Yeah, it's the same thing as the cold plasma fixing the forever chemicals. Like, I don't know all the mechanics behind it, but it's the same natural process as somehow bringing this plasma right through the human, through the vessel, and placing on anything that's maybe not natural, right? And like, I don't know even how to get into that. And creating more the path of least resistance again, or its most optimal function, which would be getting rid of the forever chemicals and going back to stabilization or homeostasis. Yeah.
Any other research?
So, I mean, there's so much like people can look up. There's very interesting stuff with plasma sheaths. And in plasma sheaths, there are higher dimensional properties that are like fifth dimensional that mathematicians are saying, where they can't reconcile it in mathematics. And there literally is like other dimensions that open up in these plasma sheaths, or like between plasma boundaries.
What does that mean though? I really struggle with the concept of multiple dimensions.
Yeah.
You know, like even of
I don't think they
linear
know what it
timelines that are occurring right now. Like,
I think it's a fancy way of saying they don't know, and it's connected with something outside our reality.
Okay.
That's literally what I think.
Okay, that makes more sense.
They call it mathematical dimensions. Like, I don't really care, and I don't really know.
Okay.
The way I actually think it's what I talk about, the 4 and 5D perspective dimensions. I actually think it's that. I think it's connecting with those
higher realms, essentially.
Yeah.
Okay.
It's different. For me, the dimension perspectives is just different layers of plasma, right? But yeah, there's interest. Like, okay, in space, they're using plasma propulsion that they think will get us to Mars. I think we should be focusing more what's inside the Earth and outside the Earth, because I think it's projecting, just like trying to like materialism and project and like thinking everything we need is outside of us. What about what's inside of us, right?
Yeah.
So I think that is actually where the truths of things are, but they don't want to be embarrassed that they spent all this money on stuff that's just stupid and who cares? Because I think the Earth, just like us ourselves, holds everything we need here.
Amen.
We don't have to go anywhere for it.
Amen.
So like, I'm over everyone. So there's plasma propulsion, but we should use that to go in the Earth. There's also weird plasma underneath the ocean. I don't know. There's something weird there. There also is using cold plasma and cleaning the atmosphere of carbon, cleaning the water of the forever chemicals.
You also brought up plasma farming, which we looked up before we were talking off camera.
Yes.
That it's similar to electroculture.
Yeah.
Google would say that electroculture is a pseudoscientific area
because they can't prove it yet.
Of course. And like electroculture has so much basis in reality that people have been doing it for a long time.
It's using subtle plasma or ether.
Okay. And so what is the difference with
plasma farming is using cold plasma, which is physical atomic plasma.
Okay.
So it's using something we can prove right now in observable science, where electroculture is probably actually the cooler thing, which I haven't really heard of, which is using the ether or subtle plasma with copper, as you were saying, to draw that in. It's what Tesla worked with radiant matter, which is physical plasma. There's no mystery there. Tesla also worked with something he said that would change the world, that was radiant energy, that was more secret.
Got it.
And that was his secret things that no one ever knows about.
Okay. And what is cold plasma again, though? Describe that to me.
Cold plasma is, how would I explain that? Let's see if I need to Google that or not. Okay, so hot plasma is like, you know what? I have to look that up. Like, because cold plasma, like neon signs, it's cold to the touch, but inside, it's like almost like inside the electrons are still like thousands of degrees.
Okay.
But let me get my phone.
Yeah, you're fine.
Hello, everyone. I'm reading off my phone what cold plasma is because I don't want to get it wrong. Cold plasma is a partially ionized gas. So it's not fully ionized. Some might call it like a weak plasma, but no. Where the electrons are hot and energized, but the heavier ions and neutral particles remain near room temperature. In aviation, this low temperature ionized gas is utilized for aerodynamic flow control to reduce drag, improve lift, replace heavy mechanical wing flaps.
So they're basically using this in farming to improve crop yield?
Yeah. So
interesting.
I'm just
in what way are they delivering the cold plasma to the crops?
How are they delivering the cold plasma to the crops in plasma farming? This is not my specialty. My specialty is ether plasma. Okay. Cold plasma is rarely delivered directly to growing crops as a gas. It would be too delicate. Instead, plasma activated water, PAW, direct seed treatments and microbubble delivery are the ways they do it. And microbubbles.
So plasma infused water, essentially.
Yeah. And also the microbubble thing is really interesting. So bubble cold plasma activated gas directly into hydroponic nutrient solutions or wastewater, infusing it with nitrates and nitrites that plants can easily absorb.
Okay.
Yeah.
Interesting.
I don't know really what that means. But
I don't either. That's interesting. Yeah. But nonetheless, they're using plasma to improve crop yield.
Yeah, and there's this woman, I don't know her name, Heather or something, in like Oregon that uses plasma to grow her crops, and they are beautiful and glowing and amazing. And then there was this guy in Costa Rica, I think it was, that sprayed this on his plants, and a hurricane came and everything around his house was destroyed, and these crops were preserved. So it almost creates this bioplasma or ether like barrier too. This almost like protective,
like a protective layer.
Yeah. So there's more there. Like we don't know everything about anything.
Yeah.
So yeah.
What are some experiments that are being done or have been done that fascinated you related to plasma? Like even stuff that the mainstream would consider pseudoscientific and not legitimate research, related to ether plasma, which is, you say you're more informed about.
Yeah, it's weird. Like as far as experiments, like
because I know I've heard you say either on Instagram posts or on other episodes that I've listened to you on, like the episode you did with Acid for Squares, which was that was a really funny episode.
They're like my favorite people.
Yeah, they seem awesome. Mm-hmm. You talked about like manipulating plasma with like tickling the plasma or something like that with your hand, like some experiments that were done.
Oh, okay, your game. Okay, magic basically. You're asking me about experiments, I call it magic.
Okay,
so
that's fine.
Yeah.
Well, like I would consider Beta Austin's research, even though it has not been peer reviewed, has not been done in a lab. Those are like, I would even argue, more legitimate quote unquote experiments because she's teaching that same method to other people who are getting the exact same results.
That's what I call magic.
Okay.
Yeah.
That's fine.
Science
so let's talk about magic. Yeah.
Yeah. I just like calling it that. Magic is the mundane. Magic is patterns. Magic is feedback. That's what magic is, right? It's feedback with the mystery and magic. Poof. I think the most interesting things, one thing is, and these are, once again, this is nothing sensationalized. This is very normal. Qigong. So learning to move your energy field or your bioplasma. And it's not like I can do this yet because I'm lazy. But what I've seen people do, I've seen these Qigong masters light pieces of paper with their hand on fire. I've seen people push cups across tables. I've been able to do telekinesis where I'm sticking a quarter to the wall. Yes, that's science. The quarter can stick to a wall because it's heated up and that's literally connecting to like the parts of the wall. But what's heating the quarter up is your heart energy. That's the same way you bend metal spoons, which I've done at the Monroe Institute.
I've done that as well.
Yeah. So that is literally just using that plasma energy and your heart energy. Plasma responds to play and it responds to your heart and what shapes plasma? Electromagnetic waves and science. What shapes ether? Your heart energy. Your consciousness.
Heart produces the largest and strongest electromagnetic field of any organ in the body.
And that's what shapes plasma. So what shapes ether? Your heart. So when your heart's centered, that's why you can create more things in your life. It all is pattern recognition that for some reason I've been able to see because my obsession is plasma. So when you're in a state of play, when you're in a state of negative capability, meaning you can hold the tension between two opposites or what's true and what else is true, but disproves the other thing, and you're not reaching for outcomes. That's called negative capability. When you're in this state of play, of openness, plasma plays with you and responds to you. That is what creates magic. Like, have you ever had a thought, it's light magic. It's rainbow magic. It's not black magic. It's like, oh, I wonder how Marissa's doing. Don't think about it again. Next day, Marissa calls me. Or, oh, I love the Alan Watts book. And then I see an Alan Watts poster. Like, that's magic. That's reality. speaking to you. That is the plasma screen, the holographic screen, not a simulation, but a living flower of life talking with you and your individual. And then, yes, there's some form of collective reality, but what wave pushed you to kind of go there to see that thing? You know, like,
totally.
Yeah.
You know, I've said this a number of times, maybe even on this podcast, that like those things that we chalk up to coincidence in air quotes, or even call them synchronicities, I think they're fundamental aspects of how this reality works. But it's like it's akin to exercising a muscle that we've forgotten that we have. And the more you pay attention to these synchronistic things, the more they happen.
And it's not about them. It's about what you're thinking when you see them.
Yeah.
So they're almost like the materialistic goalposts. Like when you see, that's why when someone sees 444 and they look up the meaning of 444, or like they see an elephant and they're like, oh, if I say, this happened to me, I was thinking a lot of fears about getting cancer, which I know I won't ever have, but I was just being crazy and like I was too distracted to worry about the real problem. So I created drama in my life. And I go to get a massage. And on this magazine, the synchronicity, I see this guy who had to get a voice box thing because he had throat cancer, right? And I'm like, this means I'm going to get it. This is synchronicity. Like, then I read below it, why like he lived like, I'm paraphrasing because I forget, but it was like, why he like overcame this and lived the best life ever. But what it showed me is what you think about, you see. That is a synchronicity. And then the message in it was, how can I focus on living the best life ever and not worrying about the cancer? And like, it was almost like I was able to the plasma mirror, I was able to get past my subconscious beliefs, reflecting through the synchronicity, see my mind state, see what I could really learn inside the message of that synchronicity. And that is how synchronicity works. So when you say, oh, if that guy likes me, let me see a heart, you'll see the heart even if he doesn't like you because you're talking about the heart.
You think that's like more the pattern recognition aspect of the mind though, rather than like the synchronistic, co-creative resonant aspect of reality, or is it both?
I think it's both.
Okay.
I think it's a mix of you being more present and your reticulate or whatever activating system, like realizing things. But I think the intelligence of the universe puts those things because you're speaking about them. So what you focus on, your focus is your reality, right? Yeah. But I think what I like to do is say, hey, if I'm connected to you right now, show me a purple elephant. Or you know what the real thing is? If you want a synchronicity and you believe something, you already know the answer. You don't need to see anything.
Yeah.
It's affirming your beliefs.
Well, the reason I bring this up is because I've definitely had aspects of like when I'm thinking something, I see more of it, which is very pattern recognition-esque part of our psyche. But then I've had situations like one day
where it's like a miracle.
Yes, but they happen more and more the more you pay attention to them. Yeah. Like that type of thing,
there's two.
I would even argue happens more you pay attention to them because again, it's a fundamental aspect of our biofield interacting through the ether with other fields out there and then attracting those situations to us. And I'll just share as one example, and there's many like this. I was really struggling financially and I didn't know what to do. At the time, only had 2 kids. Now I have 3.
Yeah. Oh my gosh.
And I just, as the provider for my wife and my kids, I'm like, I just didn't know what to do in this situation. So I just dropped to my knees and I said, God, help me. The next day, no joke. The next day, I get a text from my friend Rachel and the text reads, if you asked for help, God sent me.
It means it halfway. God meets you halfway.
Okay.
There's a song like Meet Me Halfway. Yeah. That is like, songs have real truths in them. And like the 2
That's
fingers.
That's by Black Eyed Peas.
Yeah, the fingers touching too. Like, and this is like in goddess traditions, like secret mystery schools. You have to call on the goddess for help or else it's like not going to hear you. Like you actually have to have the humility to ask for help for it to meet you halfway because you're,
But I would say that in my opinion,
I have another,
that is a function of plasma in operation through consciousness because it's like my conscious intent. Rachel, our friend, is very, very connected to God. We all are, but like her conditioning is less in the sense that like she experiences God all the time because she's fully aware of it. Yeah. Right? Does that make sense?
Yeah. Strong relationship, strong feedback.
Yes, very, very strong relationship. And so for me, I was like, I prayed to God and I wonder if it's like that rippled through the ether, got to her and she was like, oh, Alec needs help. Yes. Oh, Alec is praying to God that he needs help. I'm going to text him and say that I'm here to help him.
Yeah, the mechanics of it. So,
I know it's the mystery, but like we are talking about plasma.
I don't think it is actually. I think it is a little bit, but I think the mechanics of it would be you planted the intention, which is the seed. You planted the call for help. You sent out the sonar, whatever it's called. Yeah. It rippled out through the plasma ocean, which has the river of consciousness, which has the bubble of her consciousness, the most resonant person to send you the message. Something may have been planted in them, and then they gave you that message.
Yeah.
You know? Yeah. And I think with synchronicity, so I talk about a lot in my book about, once again, the 4D layer and the 5D layer. The 4D layer is informational. It is imprinted consciousness, right? Or like the subconscious and feeling, or like it's like the communication layer between us and our higher selves.
Okay.
It's like the creative layer where the archetypes are. It's like where our higher selves come through and put on this plasma cloak that reflects our subconscious, right? And archetypes, but and within it is the real being of consciousness. My point of saying that is the synchronicities, there's 5D synchronicities and 4D synchronicities.
Okay.
They're a two-way mirror. Everything's a two-way mirror. On one level, there's a synchronicity, which is reflecting reticular activating system. Like, yes, more just noticing it and then it's reflecting, it's showing me what my beliefs are.
Got it.
Then there's the other kind, which is ineffable. You can't explain it. You plant a seed, you're open, and it comes back however it's supposed to. And it's actually more specific. And it gives you that feeling of, it's like a sweet cotton candy feeling. I can't explain it, but it's just beautiful. That is God. This is what's, in olden times they would say demon, but it's not demon. This is just the middle layer working with your consciousness. Like
that makes a lot of sense.
Yeah. So it's your subconscious.
So like this Rachel one would be more of a 5D aspect of it, because it's like uncanny. You can't make that shit up. Makes you more in love with the mystery.
You'll never
gives
figure
you
it
that
out.
like heart opening, like, oh my God, how, because even me praying to God for help, you could argue that like no help came in air quotes, but it was like, that was the help.
And it gave you the essence and the belief to fix your life and feedback.
100%. Just by Rachel texting me saying, if you ask for help, God sent me, that itself was the help that like, oh my God, God is paying attention to me. Like God is here.
Life's going to be okay. I'm not screwed. I'm not going to go broke tomorrow.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. And money, and I found out too, like with money, like money's currency, right? Money's water, money's flowing, money's energy. Like you have to be okay letting it go for it to come back to you. So I never try to like save or hoard money now, even though I don't know where my next dollar is coming from. And like, if I do it from love, I always get the money back. But for the longest time, I've always just been so worried about money. And it's not like it doesn't happen still, but.
Totally.
Yeah.
I mean, I'm the same, especially like being a husband and dad of 3 kids.
See,
like,
that I can't imagine. I have like Danica, and she has like food that's $17 a week. Right, Danica? I love you.
She's awesome. Okay.
She winked at me.
Did she wink at you?
Yeah, that was weird.
You said she
has
like
she did it again.
Yeah, human-like qualities.
Danica, can you wink one more time just so I know I'm not...
That was wild. Yeah, that was pretty weird.
Wait, now she's just doing it though.
Okay.
That might have been the reticular activist system or whatever. That's a 4D synchronicity. Thanks so much though. She's doing it now the entire time.
As the mainstream system continues to tighten its grips on average men and women, with inflation running rampant and cost of living skyrocketing, it's becoming increasingly challenging for most people to make ends meet and to really maintain and expand financial abundance. And that's where I think it's incredibly important that we adopt and really start looking into alternative financial strategies, alternative ways to structure, and then some of these technologies that exist that help us expand and grow outside of these very extractive, exploitative mainstream system. So I'm sitting here with my dear friend Otto Gomes from Crypto Freedom Academy, who would like to share a little bit about Crypto Freedom Academy and all of its offerings and what he teaches inside the academy.
Yeah, the academy, the main reason I created it is to create community. And I think that's the most important thing right now. You know, the currency of the future is relationships. And the technologies that we have are only as good as those relationships. And so in the academy, I try to instill in everyone a sense of empowerment to know their current relationship to the energy of exchange so that we can attract more of the medium. I help you guys utilize the technologies that are available to us, like blockchain, trust and contract law, and how to do that privately.
So if you're interested in learning more about Crypto Freedom Academy and all the things that Otto offers and his depth and wealth of knowledge on the topic of crypto and financial structuring and passive income, check out episode 241 of the Way Forward podcast with Otto, or just head to thewayforward.com, and that's thewayfwrd.com /crypto freedom, or just head to the show notes and you'll find the link there. So let's go back to the magic piece. Like any other magic that you have seen, experienced, that you've heard about, again, quote unquote, experiments that have been done, whether in a lab or not, related to plasma.
Yeah, a lot of it is like less lab-like for me. And I'm sure you know more of that and like direct experience. But like one thing I love doing, do you know about like gazing? Like the terminology of what gazing is. Like gazing is kind of like looking at something and relaxing your eyes and like you're almost seeing through it.
Yep.
So like I could do it with another person. I do it in the mirror with myself. So basically when you're gazing, you're letting go of your subconscious and you're looking at the real plasma screen, right? That 5D screen. You're letting your bubble kind of fade away and seeing through the mirror. You can do that with a flower, like transcendentalists talk about it, and the flower will reveal itself to you and it'll start shimmering. You can do it with another person, see into them. I can start seeing all of your timelines. Like I can see like you turn into an older man. It's crazy. Like you turn into a cat. But I like to do it with, I have visual snow, so I see reality in pixels. I think I'm seeing plasma.
My wife has the same thing.
Whoa, okay. So.
And she just over the last 2 years has said, I thought everyone always saw this. I didn't realize that like most people don't see what I'm seeing right now.
Yeah, in the dark, I see maroon. I don't see black. Like I see pixels that look maroon, and then colors I start seeing, and like, you know, and it's scary as a kid because you think you're schizophrenic because you see like ghosts everywhere and weird. So anyway, my point of that is one little magical practice I did when I was in North Carolina is I looked at a mountain. I kind of like relaxed my eyes and just gazed, and I was like, whatever conscious being wants to come to me, I'm open. Like just whatever's my vibration or higher. And all of a sudden, I'm like, and this feels like a dream. I can't do it now. Sometimes I can, but like in a subtle energy plasma screen way, this blue tall alien just appears in like this frozen image and is looking at me. And it was like telepathically just giving me information about my book, telling me I was going to be okay, all this stuff. Very beautiful.
Blue being specifically?
Yeah, like a blue tall being.
Have you listened to the telepathy tapes?
Yes, but I haven't heard of a blue being on the telepathy tapes. I've listened to season 1. Is it season 1?
I don't remember which season. I interviewed Dr. Diane Hennessy Powell, who's like featured in the telepathy
I love her.
tapes.
I think she just presented on plasma a few weeks ago. Someone told me for the first time.
We were talking. I was able to enjoy a 3.5 hour car ride with her twice because she spoke at Confluence, not this last year, but the year before. And then she sat, that chair used to be right there. She sat in that chair and had that microphone in front of her. But shout out to Diane.
Yeah, Diane, I want to be your friend.
Yeah, she's great.
We'll meet at Side Games, hopefully, if you're there. Okay.
She's so rad. What she talks about that the autists talk about is that there are blue beings who guard the hill, which is where the autists
I didn't know that.
Essentially astral project or like project their consciousness to go communicate with each other.
Okay, that's interesting.
Blue beings, tall blue beings specifically.
That's great. And I mean, people are gonna like not believe me, but like I think I have autism. I'm self-diagnosed with myself, but I think I'm like very much on the lower end of the spectrum. If that makes sense.
I have problems with the whole autism spectrum. Like I feel like
I'm just neurodivergent. Honestly, here's the thing.
You just think outside the box. That's it.
Well, let me just say, I like saying it because I want to be in that club. Okay, so I'm going to say I'm it. You know, I want to be cool. I want to be telepathic. I want to be like, I'm a superhero. I'm autistic. I know that there's a lot of struggles with it. I'm not, I know that, but I think it's a superpower.
There's definitely a difference between 100%. There's a difference between someone who is literally nonverbal, banging their head against the wall, like can't communicate versus.
But like I have like some of the things in the tics and the like sensory things, right?
Yeah,
so there's when I took the test, it said I was on it. So I was like, whatever. But yeah, I'm just neurodivergent. I'm just weird. I'm just, multidimensional human. My point of saying that is
blue beings.
That maybe that's the connection. It's just like, when we're
No, it's just interesting though, when you're doing that practice, right? That you saw a tall blue being appear to you. And I've heard other people say that too. I think Melissa Jolly Graves, did she talk about the first time that, you may not know this, the first time that one of the autistic kids appeared to her and she thought it was an angel the whole time, that it was a blue being? I don't remember if she said it was. I know my wife is incredibly intuitive and she has kind of like prophetic dreams, and she's had dreams about blue beings appearing to her, grabbing her hand and pulling her into water, like tall blue beings.
Well, I've also seen blue monkeys on the moon. So like another like magical practice I do, I like to like travel through plasma. So like I'll think of the moon and I'm there. I could do it right now. I'm like bilocating, right? And I'll like go down and I've seen this elevator on the moon. Who knows if this is real or this is like in a subtle energy of the moon, if that makes sense, because maybe there's multiple dimensions in the moon.
Yeah.
I'm not one to say like, oh, the moon's a lot. I don't know. But in my little astral projection things, I go down this elevator. First, there's like this red walls are really interesting. Then there's like this yellow layer with like water on the floor. At the bottom, there's like this crystal kind of cave where these blue monkeys took me, put me in a crystal bathtub, put my mouth like this, dropped a key down my throat, and told me that I was going to get like 3 keys, that I was the Princess of Nazareth. Not that I'm that alone, that we all are, but it's basically like, it's almost like Jesus, but the divine feminine, or Mary Magdalene, where like you hold your own magic within you kind of thing.
Totally.
I knew it was, most people would say that and be crazy and be a cult leader. I'm not that. I took it as an archetypal message. But the craziest thing is after I came out of that, I looked up the blue monkeys and they're all over ancient mythology and paintings. And then monkey is like a key.
Oh.
So there was so much there that I like was able to, anyway, it was just cool. Like they just hold, I think they just hold certain knowledge. And my point of saying that is also when and this is with plasma too. So plasma holds memory. When we're at certain locations, when I was in Asheville, I think North Carolina, my dad had just passed away. And I was very upset, and I was laying on this bed in a house by myself, going there because this whole thing where I thought I had a stalker and I had to leave my mom's house, and I was alone for like a month in the Carolinas. This I was sleeping, and all of a sudden I see like the white light kind of come in from the window, and almost like as a projection of a subtle energy, this white Yeti Bigfoot was in bed with me, looking at me like this, and I knew it was my dad, right? So that was a consciousness in it. But outside of it, on the plasma layer, it came as that because it was picking up the energy of the area.
Interesting.
So like plasma as that layer, it doesn't just pick up on your subconscious, it picks up the energy of the area, which why like my friend's uncle died and he came to his a gray alien because he had just gone to Roswell. So it's like picking up on his. So there's a lot of mechanics there. So like never take what visits you for face value.
I want to talk about plasmoids in a minute too, because that's kind of where we're heading with this. I've thought that as it applies, I remember thinking this when I was like 10, 11 or something like that, like how some Native American traditions, like they worship, let's say a wolf. I don't know if any of them do, but like God appeared to them as a wolf. So like they think of the wolf as like this, the God is the spirit of the wolf or something like that, right? Or other ones will say it's this. Other ones will say it's this.
Yeah, it's all true.
I've always wondered if it's just like God is picking up on the
4D plasma.
Yeah, the plasma of that area, the electromagnetic field and conditions of that environment.
Yes.
Also with the belief systems of the individual in order to communicate a message.
Yes, and I can even go deeper into that. So yes. So basically, this same thing, this same 5D layer, all of us have our individual and collective relationship with, right? So some people see Jesus, some people see Buddha. It is all true and it is all not true, right? But it is all true on a really cool level. And guess what? The relationship is the creative. It's the subconscious. It's the archetypal filters like you choose, right? Or your area or your family. But the thing my mind goes to is, okay, but where do those images come from originally? And I try to think that as, okay, if you see a person who's very unattractive, are they evil? No. So I think even outside of time and space, I think it's all love, right? I think that these beings are all from different realities and maybe have came here or like we've seen them, right? This is like the more 5D like funnel of seeing all these weird beings from other bubbles of realities, right?
Yeah.
But I think we somehow got that and then like ruined it with our duality and then like made good and bad archetypes and images with this. And then we come down here and we're like, oh, this is real. But what's real is this. And this is just the creative plasma layer that we're functioning to communicate with this. So when beings visit us, this is the discernment you have to use. And it's hard. I'm not saying I have it all figured out. You have to go by feeling, not face value. So
not preconceived ideas.
Yeah. So what's visiting me, is it a more of like a unconscious, like demonic trauma entity thing? Or is it a conscious being coming through this, showing up as a demon because I'm scared of it?
Yeah.
So like there's a whole lot to unpack there, but
there's a lot to unpack there
because that puts the power back in you. That means no one can ever get possessed unless you give your power over it. That means you're not a victim to anything. It's a co-creative experience. It wants to evolve you. Are you going to let it? Are you going to see through it? Or are you going to be scared of it? Or are you going to set a boundary and you're like, I just don't want to do this today?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, my wife and I had this experience about 2 months ago. I'll preface this by saying my wife's mom, so my mother-in-law, has become increasingly psychic to where it's like kind of trippy, where she'll just be at a country club bar after playing golf or something like that. And then she instantly knows everything about some random dude there. And she'll just walk up and be like, I'm getting a Karen coming through. Do you have a Karen in your life? And the dude's like, yeah, that's my mom. And she's like, well, she's telling me this trip you're about to go on. You need to go on that trip and you're carrying a lot of guilt about it. Are you going on a trip anytime soon? He's like, I'm literally leaving tomorrow to go here. And you're going without your wife, right? And he's like, yeah. And she's like, yeah, Karen's telling me you need to not feel guilty about that. You need this trip for you so you can come back and be a better dad. And the dude just like, who the hell is this lady?
Yeah.
So my wife is starting to have a lot of those things come online too.
Good luck.
I know. Yeah, she's always like, you can't hide from me.
You can't.
I'm like, no, I cannot. I know.
No, we feel everything.
100%.
Yeah.
I know that. And we've been together since we were 16. So we've been through a lot of like waves and journeys together. Like God bless my wife. She's the best.
Yeah.
But anyway, we were laying in bed one day and I don't typically see stuff.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm also very cognizant of placebo, let's say, like me believing that I'm seeing something. So that creates the conditions where I think I'm seeing something. Like I try to be very mindful of that. Can I ever say that that's still not a factor? No. And with that being said, we're laying in bed and I'm already like falling asleep. And my wife is like, Alec, there's something in the room. I'm like, what? And she's like, I'm seeing something in the room right now. And then she like nudges me. I open my eyes. And I see it too. I'm like, oh, right there.
Yeah.
We have no ability on that side of the room for light sources to come into the room. And I'm like, it's right there, right? And she's like, yeah, are you seeing that? I'm like, yeah, I'm kind of feeling it too. She's like, oh, I definitely feel it. And it wasn't malicious. It wasn't malevolent.
Yeah.
It wasn't bad, but it also wasn't benevolent. It was just something
Neutral.
observing us.
Yeah, neutral.
And we both asked for it to leave. And then I asked, I was like, in the name of Jesus Christ, get out of this room. And then my whole body got like crazy chills and then it was gone. And it's just like, there is that element of it too, with like, even if it's not something that is malicious and has negative intention, if you just don't want it in your room, just setting that boundary. And there's something I'll bring up later related to Sabrina Wallace's work. I'll set that aside where she talks about that's the way to prohibit, let's say, government from being able to use your biofield. We'll get to that later.
Oh, interesting. I got to hear about that.
Oh, yeah.
Shit.
So the one thing I did want to address related to what you just said, though, too.
Aliens. I'm just kidding.
Well, I do want to get into plasmoids and stuff. Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
We're talking about entities.
Yeah.
I love how you're taking notes, too, and handwritten notes during this. This is
great.
But you brought up the differentiating between something that is an unconscious projection based on your own unhealed stuff that we call a demon versus an objective entity that is etheric, you could say, or astral based entity that is demonic. Do you think that there is a difference between the two? There are objective entity. Oh, no. Okay. I want to hear what you think about this.
No, I don't. So those are all like, okay, in this 4D space, right? There's duality. There's bad and good. But here's the thing. I do think they're real.
Yes.
I've experienced them. I'm coming from the place of experiencing that. The problem is I experience all the demonic stuff only when I'm in a state of trauma or when I have my unhealed trauma. Think about it. Like, why are there so many spiritual people who like don't experience that? It's because they're not resonating with something within them that's like, so my point is here, I think all demons are really daemons, right? It's almost like there's an inner genius or like, or there's they're not inner geniuses. I'm not trying to like be like that. There is a seed of genius within all of them that can evolve us. There's love deep inside all of them. But the thing is, there's been so much trauma and survival over millions of years on Earth or whatever, thousands of years, whatever, that we've created these egregores of like, good and bad. And these demons are not conscious. They are I don't care how conscious they feel. They feel conscious because your consciousness infuses in their unconscious coagulation of plasma and it's feedbacking and they're mirroring to you your own shit and your own fear. And every time I heal my trauma, I don't see those things. And then last night I had horrible anxiety. I had sleep paralysis and it felt like slightly demonic. But I know now that it was more like that. You know what I mean? I don't, and I really think that's true. And I think it really will help people not be in fear. It doesn't mean scary stuff doesn't happen.
Some scary ass shit can happen.
Yeah. But even like when people like send you demons or like pray to demons, those are all egregores. Like congrats. Like I can do that with Candyland and make a whimsical fairy elf and do the same thing. Like, where are you going to what wolf are you going to feed?
Which wolf are you going to feed? So in your perspective, then there are demons that are unconscious manifestation of your individual psyche and unhealed stuff. But then there are also collective ones where we've put so much thought, energy, and also just our unhealed shit collectively has gone into something to create like these very well-known sort of biblical or religious-esque demonic entities
that are also unconscious.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah. But yeah, and that stuff's very real. But, you know, when they come, you can totally, like, I don't think anything in the astral can hurt you unless you let it. I really actually believe that. Even people that have the hauntings and get like bruises, scratches, like and like almost in every one, the family is actually going through deep trauma, and it's like projections of their own stuff. Like if you really look into it, it can all be explained. And I think that can give people a lot of solace. Not like bad things won't happen or you won't have weird shit, but knowing, okay, I don't have to give my power to this. I can laugh. I can set a boundary. I could pray to Jesus. I can be in love. Love combats everything. In the astral, I'm not being a spiritual bypasser. In this life, people die. People get murdered. You get your car jacked. Bad shit happens. That's annoying. It's a 3D experience. I'll never be able to explain suffering. You can also have a different perspective where all is for the greater good. All this happens. We're not going to understand everything. What's the silver lining? Blah, blah, blah. But in the astral, nothing can hurt you, in my opinion.
I like that.
Yeah.
I like that perspective too. Or even just looking at the bad things that happen in this physical reality is like, where is the gift in it? And it's
same thing.
Yeah. It's hard to see it when you're in it. But if you have repetitive experience of getting past a bad experience and being able to look in hindsight and say, wow, that was really fucking hard. And I'm so grateful I went through it because X, Y, and Z.
So much.
Yes, exactly.
Every time.
Exactly.
I've been through I'm sure many people watching, but I've been through really traumatic stuff my entire life, and I would not take any of it back, which sounds crazy. Yeah. Even with, creepy diddlers and just all this. But I don't hold anger. I experience anger and I feel it and I let it go. And I'm weirdly grateful in a strange way to be exactly who I am in this moment. Yeah.
Yeah, totally. 100% agree with that for me too.
Yeah. So it's the same thing. The demons, it's like those things are bad, conscious or not, and you can find the silver lining in those experiences. You can set a boundary, or you can just be scared of them and let them take over and ruin your life and be a victim.
Yeah. We're kind of dancing around plasmoids. I want you to talk about what a plasmoid is. I know it relates to demons and possibly angels too. I would love to just hear your perspective on what a plasmoid is. Yeah.
So in science, a plasmoid has something called magnetic recombination. So like think of like, okay, there's like I might be explaining this wrong, but there's kind of like let's say, how do I explain it? So, okay. A plasmoid I don't know if I'm explaining this right. Hold on.
You could.
Hold on.
You cover this in your book?
Yeah.
Okay.
It's in my next book more too. How do I explain a plasmoid? But I'm going to talk about it more in my way, but I'm just trying to get the science one down first.
Okay.
Yeah. Okay. I'm correct.
This is the scientific definition of what a plasmoid is.
So once again, here's a science one. It's a coherent, self-contained blob of plasma held together by its own magnetic field.
Okay.
So it has like, it stores energy. It has self-organization. Which is a type of like intelligence.
What are they doing in laboratory environments to create the conditions for a plasmoid to arise?
What are they creating to make a plasmoid arise in lab conditions?
I love your authenticity, and you're like, because
once again, I can tell you subtly what it is. I can't like exactly.
She's going to share the internet's perspective, the I guess you could say the AI search engine perspective, and then
I kind of know. So like I know
what are you seeing, dog?
Is someone coming?
That was interesting. Like we've had some trippy shit happen in this room during some episodes where we have conversations like this. I'm not kidding.
Yeah, that's interesting.
Reese can attest to that.
Yeah,
there was one instance where after I interviewed my friend Dr. Edith Ubuntu Chan, she teaches the ability to perceive with mind sight to kids, and after that episode, we had like 6 people sitting here on the floor, right, Reese? And I'm in the kitchen area making myself like a cup of tea or something like that. And all 6 of the people here, including Dr. Edith, all at the same time go, whoa. And what did you guys see? You saw like an orb of light come into the room and then leave?
Oh, plasma.
All at the same time.
Yeah.
It was,
that is really cool though.
Yeah.
Whoa.
But all of them went, whoa, at the same time. I was like,
yeah. Okay, plasmoid. So yeah, because I can tell you like, I don't know how to make one because I already think we're in one, right? So I never really looked in. Okay, so a plasmoid is created when plasma and embedded magnetic fields naturally self-organize into a coherent, self-contained entity, such as a torus or cylinder, rather than an amorphous blob. So the way that they, let's say, create them in cold blood.
I guarantee there's some vortexing related to
devices like, it is vortexing. Tokamaks, Spheromax, dense plasma focus machines use intense electromagnetic fields to superheat and shape plasma, When oppositely directed magnetic field lines snap apart and reconnect, they often release magnetic energy as isolated plasmoid structure. So yeah, that's what I was trying to explain. Like, I just don't know how to say in the terminology. There's like this plasma structure, and then somehow it's almost like a cell is creating two. It's snapped off into like a new one, a plasmoid that has its own magnetic field, like an intelligent plasma blob.
Okay.
And then somehow this plasmoid, when things come in it does the path of least resistance, or it creates the most optimal path. I don't even know if they know exactly how that works. But when they are, it almost is more of a shape of an egg, actually. But yes, they use vortex dynamics. Do not ask me how. Please look it up on your own to somehow create these conditions with the plasmoid. It's a cavitation process. That is all I know. But it's the same way as using your energy. So if you're in a plasmoid and you're meditating, or if you're doing certain vortex things with your consciousness, I think it's actually a natural thing that happens. You can create like the same kind of effects, if that makes sense.
Yeah, that makes sense.
Yeah.
So a plasmoid, you talk about plasma having sentience.
UFOs are plasmoids.
Okay, this is where I was going. Like,
I'll talk about that all day.
Okay, this is exactly where I was going. So plasmoids have sentience, and you distinguish between sentience and consciousness.
Yes,
sentience is like,
oh my God, this is
sentience is what animals have. This is where like,
no, because I was just going to
say it's like
there's a spectrum of consciousness, but sentience. Yeah. So that has not. Negate that and just say sentience is like the bubble around them holding their whatever spectrum of consciousness.
Yeah, because I was going to negate what I just said anyway, because she is a doctor, right? No, I don't know if she is, but Diddy Young, who I interviewed, who's been on the telepathy tapes, she talks about how animals, in her experience, because she's an animal telepathic communicator, she's like, no, they're highly conscious. But
it's a different consciousness.
Distinguish between sentience and consciousness from your perspective.
Yeah, it's a different. So there's plasma consciousness synergy in my mind. There's a whole new framework of what I think. So there's plasma, right? Fabric of reality. Your consciousness feeds back with it. The way mind feeds back with it is different than how animals feed back with it. So plasma consciousness synergy, there's just different maybe connections in the feedback. Maybe there's certain stronger ones that create different. So we all have this consciousness feedback with plasma, just how like machines have what's called information plasma synergy, where the information is feedback with the plasma. So that's the way. So then consciousness to me is simply a feedback system with your awareness, right? With your awareness or 3D survival consciousness, depending on what state you're in, and plasma.
Okay.
That is what I call consciousness. It is a system. Then it's different than awareness, if that makes sense. Awareness is using consciousness and plasma. Consciousness is that system, right? Or that active photonic thing that is working with plasma. Plasma is sentient. It is the receptive principle. It is feeling, it is instinct, it is desire, it is fractal, it is intelligent. It can get imprinted with stuff, but it is able to hold consciousness because it is almost like this non-biased neutral thing, if that makes sense.
That makes sense.
Yeah.
That makes sense.
But it's feeling, it's pure feeling. Like that's why when we have those blissful experiences, there is almost no consciousness. Our consciousness is bathing in feeling.
You know what's so interesting that comes up for me?
Yeah.
So fourth phase of water is sometimes described as a plasma because it's not fully liquid, it's not fully solid. Right.
It is though. Yeah.
Here's another piece with that though too. Veda Austin, who I know you're familiar with.
Yeah.
And I may have asked her this the last time I interviewed her. She sat in that chair in 2025, I want to say. And it's interesting because in her freezing method, in order for water to actually imprint, she has to freeze or pull the water in the Petri dish out of the freezer when it's not fully frozen, when it's in the middle of the freezing process. So when it's in, yes.
Wait, hold on. Okay.
Think about that. Because it's not fully liquid. It's not fully solid.
Oh, it's like the plasma memory.
Correct.
Whoa.
It's in between states. If you ask Veda, if you ever get a chance to talk with her, she'll say that her freezing method requires that it is in the process of freezing.
It's like the river, fully the liquid. 4D river.
It's not fully solid. It's in between, just like fourth phase water, not fully liquid, not fully solid.
Yeah.
So it's interesting.
It's jelly.
Yes.
It's like this gelatin, because I always see plasma as jelly. I always jellyfish aren't plasma, but there's like this weird jelly thing with plasma and nectar of the gods, right? And honey.
Yeah.
It's like this like
in between.
Yeah, it's sap. It's all over. The patterns are everywhere. Yeah, it's very interesting.
It is interesting. So going back to plasma.
Yeah, I wrote down Merkaba. I don't know why. Plasmoids, Merkaba.
Okay. Why'd you write that down?
Because,
like in the middle of this right now?
So when you were just talking about the plasmoid or the soul, we'll get into this actually. Ask me what you're going to ask me. It has to do with aliens, so we'll go back to
it. Well, that's what I was going to ask.
Yeah.
So plasmoids can become conscious and aware? ? Like in your perspective? No. So you even think like alien, quote unquote, alien life is just, is that another aspect of an egregore?
No.
Okay, just share your perspective
maybe
on
and no. So some of the alien life is what we're saying, right? It's like the plasma spacesuit of these other conscious beings, right? But they're like archetypal alien.
It's like astral entities that are then like appearing.
The painting palette that these conscious entities are wearing. They can come as almost any of them.
Okay.
Then I think there are those like interdimensional 5D, kind of what I was saying, how do we get the images even for those things, right? There are actual conscious entities coming from like our higher self filters them, right? Coming through 5D, coming through 4D into 3D. And the only way we could even conceptualize them with our consciousness is for that middle layer. Otherwise, there would be no tangibility to them, right? They all are also in a bubble of subtle plasma, right? Because they're coming in that thing, just like we are, right? It's like Metatron's cube. It is our Merkaba. It is our soul. That is carrying them as much as it's carrying us. The UFOs, as above, so below, the UFOs with the layer of plasma around them, who knows what's really in that? Who knows what conscious entity is using that, right?
Yep.
But I can tell you what I think is it is all love. Chris Bledsoe says the same thing. He calls it God or like UFO of God. But I really think if they really were, these are different than like mechanical UFOs. If they're saying in like 3D Jupiter, I don't know everything, right? The majority, most of that is a psyop.
I actually also think a lot of it is just government technology.
Most of it is a psyop. Yeah. But the reason the government even views these beings as metallic is because they're viewing it from their perspective. It's reflecting their consciousness. They're coming from capitalism control. They'll never be allowed to see this. This is why they try to get people like Chris Bledsoe to, they've asked them, I can share this, I think. Ryan's told me like they want to know from our family what this is because it almost won't reveal itself. It's the unicorn. So I went on a tangent there. But my point is anything we're seeing in the sky that is a plasmoid, I believe it's almost like Alice in the Looking Glass. These beings are maybe remote viewing us. Maybe they're just saying hi. I literally think it's here to reflect our own beliefs. It's to show us our own power. And it's also higher dimensional beings that are inside of plasma carrying their consciousness, just saying hello. Because guess what? If they really wanted to say something and they were like a real alien that's like physical, they would come down here, land in my living room and say it. Why do all crash retrievals are just by the government? Like that makes no sense. Like, so the real lesson, aliens are distraction. The real thing is there is this 5D, there is this thing, some call God, heaven, aliens, interdimensionals. There is this reality living alongside us, supporting us, part of our family in my perspective. They want to get through so bad, not to pray to them, but they support us. They're here with us, almost like maybe we're merging even to get to know them more because we're in this 4D layer now. Maybe we'll I don't even know what that looks like. I think they're just trying to say, just like a wise grandparent would tell their kid who they will have to let mistakes, they can't save them. All they want them to know, just like a family member, we love and support you. You have all the power within you. This is how we use plasma. How are you going to use plasma? That could be a projection too, but I really fucking believe that.
Well, there's a reason that so many more people are having conversations and interested in conversations like this about plasma and the quote unquote metaphysical. At the same time, I think a lot more people are starting to experience seeing these things that I described, like my wife seeing or that we're talking about right now.
Sorry.
No, go ahead.
Plasmoids, this I think is like almost the first time in history, maybe it's happened before, we're seeing this phenomenon at its base level. Think about we saw them as metallic crafts mostly 40 years ago. Before that, they looked like Hindu vimanas or ships or houses in the sky.
Right.
They were steampunk machines. Before that, they were birds. They were flying dragons.
Yeah.
There were all these things that people reflected their beliefs off of. And coincidentally, the plasma paradigm, I have chills just saying this, we're seeing reality at its base level, almost walk through the doorway of what's on the other side of that. You know what I'm saying? It's consciousness has evolved to the point where we're facing ourselves finally instead of all these projections. And it's what is next? That I think is the real evolution. I don't have the answer to that, but.
Well, that's why I think in the same breath, and I think you'll see where this relates. There's a lot of people in this sort of holistic health space that are evolving past what are we eating and what toxins are in our environment to a deeper understanding of like,
because they're still
what
sick.
is going on? Yeah. What is going on inside of me?
The energetics.
The energetics that is causing me to become ill. Seriously.
And what on the outside in our plasma bubble, the knots, right? 4D knots. This has to do with like math and topology. And then a knot is not mythology. But what is and alchemy? What coagulated knots are in my bubble held from
That's
other
what Eileen
time?
talks about.
Yeah, held from other bubbles. Held from other timelines, held from past life, held from this life. Like, what beliefs are knotted that are holographically reflecting into my body? And yeah, if I can't untangle it here, how can I maybe untangle it here with beliefs, with biofield tuning? There's so many ways. And that will reflect back and make my body healthy again.
100%.
Because it starts here. It doesn't start here. And yeah, there was this guy recently. I don't know if I want to talk about that. I don't want to offend anyone. Well, anyway, I think fascia is great. And studying, I think fascia is so cool. And like studying the body and like all the stuff with the body. But the real key is facing your own mental health, facing your darkness, facing your limiting beliefs, facing yourself. That all is held out here, and healing that will solve everything in here. But yes, both are great, right? We all like a massage once in a while, but like you really, yeah.
Well, sometimes like a deep session of fascial release can actually be the access point too.
That's what I'm saying. That's why I didn't want to say that, because I don't think it's true. And I don't want to negate that. But I think it's both.
Yeah.
I don't think it's just one. And I think sometimes people just get stuck on the just one or the just eating. And then they realize and then they get cancer the next day and they're like, oh shit, everything I just said, I don't even know now. Yeah.
Yeah. Well, I think it's, again, that people are understanding the metaphysical aspects of this realm, or like starting to look into that, and also understanding that that's what informs the physical. So it's like the deeper energetics are what matters most. It's not to negate, like, of course, the food matters. Of course, the toxins you're exposed to matters. But what matters much more is your perceptions, beliefs, and all those things, which goes back to the metaphysical phenomena, the interaction with the plasma, our biofield, et cetera, et cetera.
That feeds into all of this.
Yeah, 100%.
So, yeah.
Is there anything else you want to say related to aliens?
Well, I was also going to say, it's not mind over matter, it's mind and matter.
It's
a feedback, right?
Yeah, it is.
Regarding aliens, just basically that, the whole alien thing, I think the true disclosure, the government can never tell you because they don't know. I think the true disclosure is ourselves. I think it is inside of us. I think you can have your own relationship with it. If you want to know about aliens and disclosure, meditate, go look at the orbs, see what it reflects to you rather than what people are telling you to believe. Try some cool like magic stuff on your own, heal your trauma, feel your feelings. Don't think you can't have like anger or sadness or any of the dark feelings. Like, just let it flow through you, feel it, and then move on. Yeah, that's all I have to say about that.
So with respect to the alien phenomenon, I want to close this loop, like alien disclosure thing. Some people will say that it's beings from other realms. Some will say that it's beings from other planets. Mm-hmm. Some will say that it's purely angels and demons. What is your perspective on that?
I would say the truth is I don't know, but my feeling on it is that 99% of them are these like our higher selves, future ancestors, literally just like trying to reflect to us our own consciousness so we can evolve and grow. And it's like the phenomenon is, which I think UFOs are the same as us seeing Bigfoot, us seeing ghosts. They're all consciousness or information little packets in this subtle plasma that have things to reflect and then have wisdom within them. And I think it's meant to have an individual relationship with them, which is why no one can tell you what it is. And that's why we all think it's different things. I would say just be careful not to make it a new religion. Make sure that it is more of just this like beautiful relationship with reality and other beings that we don't really understand. That's what I think. And I think maybe the 1% of things that can't be explained and are, if it is an alien from like, I don't know, outside our solar system in like 3D reality or some kind of like real material crash thing, I don't know anything about that. So
yeah, I tend to think most of that's like a government psyop. Personally.
Yeah, no, same.
Yeah,
I don't even know if I believe we ever recovered real bodies. Like, I really don't. Like, because here's the thing. This maybe, I'm sure people can fight me on this, but like real secrets, the government, we don't know. Like, we don't know the nuclear codes, right? Like, why do we know these things? Why do we know what they want us to know? It's because they want us to know. Even the secrets that are let out, who's letting out?
Oh my God. I could go off on that. Like, even as it relates to COVID, because this is a complete side conversation, side tangent, but just briefly. same thing related to them finally coming out with a quote unquote truth that COVID was made in a lab. That perpetuates the belief system that the government is weaponizing things that we need to be afraid of.
Yeah. All fear.
Yeah, all fear. 100%
to keep us in control and divided 100%. While they're all going out to dinner
and
with
it
each
seems
other.
like the convenient alternative narrative that like, oh, this is the truth that they've been hiding the whole time, that they actually made this in a lab. And it's like, I could, my audience knows I can speak at length scientifically why that is completely unproven. But
no, we know what they want us to know. And the truth is the real knowledge is within, and we don't need anyone. And if we didn't need them, the whole country would fall apart. That's a good thing, but they don't,
The same relates to politics too.
Yeah.
It's continuing to outsource our power to someone else. Like, this guy's going to be the guy that takes down the system finally.
Yeah, that's
when
why
it's just conditioning us to be in a victimhood state again.
Yeah.
Where we need to outsource our power, authority, responsibility to someone else.
Yeah, the voting campaigns just make me laugh. Like
it's
either party. Like it's all just horrible.
Yeah, it's hilarious.
It's all
hilarious.
corrupt.
Yeah, it's all corrupt. Okay, maybe it is appropriate to bring up Sabrina Wallace's work at this point.
Oh yeah, tell me, because I don't even know anything.
So I may butcher this. I interviewed Chris Crutchfield, who's a dear friend of mine, who's done a phenomenal job breaking down Sabrina's work, because she is brilliant, and I still struggled to grasp what she's saying sometimes. With that being said, what her work is she's essentially a telecommunications whistleblower, for lack of a better term, and she has blown the whistle that the government and other actors, you could say, possess technology that is able to hack into our biofield, you could say, and read our thoughts, but then also implant things, metaphysical things, if you will, into our biofield. Like the phenomenon of COVID, from her perspective, if I remember correctly, is purely metaphysical. And it's that the government was updating their software, and in order to boost the signal that our biofield already naturally emits, which they already possess the technology to hack into in order to implant certain ideas, also to extract information from us, which is how, like, Instagram, for example, you won't even say anything. You just have a thought related to something and Instagram will show it to you.
Okay.
That getting the metallic substances inside of us, for those who chose to partake in that, is only there to boost the signal, if you will. I would just love to hear your thoughts on. Yeah. I know that's a lot, and you may need time to reflect on it.
I know, I can already think of something. So like, I have two things. I could see how that's definitely possible, and I would not put that past anyone. And I'm sure that is possible. My first thought goes to, and I'm sure you'll agree with this, how to counteract that. And if that's possible, and it's once again like a consciousness subtle war, right?
Yep.
And I think the war would be not participating in the war, not fighting it, but being so like high in love that your biofield almost repels that.
Yes,
like no
that's
matter.
exactly what Sabrina says too.
Okay,
anyway.
so like that's what I would think. So that's the way to almost combat it, is to not combat it, but just to be in your own love and frequency. But at the same time, like remembering how subject we are to that when we're in those not negative states, because we all have struggles, but when we let our beliefs, like when we let things take us over, how quickly you can fall into the frameworks that are there that are so easily able to take us over when we let it subconsciously.
Yeah, totally.
Yeah, but no, that resonates.
This relates.
Fuck you, whoever's doing that.
Well, it's like it's emboldening and strengthening our field.
Our field.
Yeah,
that's actually good. I need to have more field hygiene.
Yeah.
I'm sorry.
More Qigong.
Yeah.
More Qigong.
More Qigong.
It's so interesting because I started doing Qigong 6 years ago, and like in hindsight, I had no idea. Yeah, it's changed my life.
Shout out Lu Chen on Qigong on YouTube. I love Lu Chen.
Okay.
She's like this woman. She's ageless, and I do hers every morning. They're like 7 to 15 minute Qigongs, and I always feel so centered after.
Yeah, same. Yeah. I learned from my mentor, Dr. Edith Ubuntu Chen.
Oh, yeah. I have to meet Dr. Edith. Oh, yeah. I want to learn from Dr. Edith.
Yeah, she's amazing. I know you're probably very tired of having people try to sell you supplements, and I totally understand that. When it comes to Heart and Soil, beyond a supplement. Their products and their company and their values are very aligned with the way forward.
It is a bit of a misnomer to call ourselves a supplement company. We're a real food capsule company. We work on this energy principle of like for like, that you eat the organs that you want to support. Why would you want to support your heart? I don't know, maybe you want a healthy heart as the vortex spiraling blood pumper around your body that's keeping you alive, or your liver because of the amount of retox and detox we need to do today, or your brain to lock in and have more of like a natural nootropic instead of leaning on more caffeine or more nicotine. So we have functional blends, most of which contain liver as the kind of hero ingredient, because liver is the most nutrient dense food on the planet. We lead the way on transparency and quality. Every single step is tested for things like heavy metals, mold, and microplastics from the cleanest pastures and cows that you can imagine. Go to heartandsoil.co, go to the particular product that resonates with you, that you're interested in, and just read these customer testimonies. You're going to read stories about resolving PCOS or infertility struggles that lasted years, and people would take our supplements for 12 weeks and get pregnant naturally. If there's not a better testimony for something in the world than that, I don't know what there is.
So if you resonate with the principle of like supporting like, and you want to provide your mind, body, and soul with the highest quality animal-based supplements, head to heartandsoil.co and enter code The Way Forward, and that's The Way FWRD at checkout for 10% off. And if you'd like to learn a little bit more about Heart and Soil, I highly recommend checking out episode 249. We go into all the things related to Heart and Soil and the nutrients that these supplements provide you. That relates to another thing I know you wanted to bring up too, is like the human potential movement as it pertains to plasma. Like what are your thoughts on that?
Okay, so one person I love, she recently passed away. Let's see if I'll remember her name. Jean Houston talked a lot about the human potential movement and like the magic we all have. Like, I think that plasma is at the foundation of the human potential movement, where plasma, the divine feminine, right, holds our magic. And the way to consciously reconnect with plasma, even though we're all connected to it, as we become more conscious about plasma in these ways, which literally will envelops and will show our magic to us and holds our memory of our magic, that will create the human potential movement of our new human potential, our multidimensional selves working with plasma in ways we've never thought we could to create magical things. So I think the new human potential, us being angels or butterflies, right, our toroidal wings opening up, right, is by learning how to work with plasma using our consciousness. That is literally the new human potential. I call it the new human potential because we're like new humans or future humans. That is learning how to work with plasma using our awareness with the vehicle of our consciousness.
Doing things like Qigong.
Yeah. Or like just things we don't even know we can do yet. Like everyone has specific things. And the more you connect with plasma, you're going to learn what your magic is. Like I cannot tell you what your special things are. Like that's for you guys to discover and post about online, you know?
Well, that's the thing is like just bringing an awareness to the reality that we have a biofield that has, that ancient civilizations across history have talked about. Like even the Quero people of Peru, their term for the biofield, they describe it as like an energy bubble that surrounds and envelops you. And it's called the Kause Pakpo. That's what they call it. And the reason I'm bringing this up is because it's like I could see where someone who is more practically minded could listen to this episode and be like, why does this is all conceptual. Why does any of this matter? And it's like,
everything's conceptual and made up.
Well, that, but also it's like we can seed ideas to you to where you're like, oh, I have this. Oh, this might be what describes extrasensory phenomena. It also could be what describes our ability to think our way through the placebo or nocebo effect into disease states. It describes the phenomenon of egregores. It
describes telepathy.
It describes telepathy. It describes all these things. So the onus is on you to really play with like, okay, how am I going to interact with this thing that I have now that I have the awareness of it, you know? And
I would also say that like someone's going to be like, prove it, right? Can you prove love? No. I think it's more, this plasma I speak of is experiential. It is the experiential substrate of reality that you're feedbacking with your consciousness. What we can philosophize, going back to what you said, experience, right? That's all is here. What is the substrate of that experience? Plasma. What creates the perspective of that? Your consciousness. So they're constantly feedbacking with it. So like, I don't need to prove it to you. Like your experience, if you're open to it, will prove it yourself, or just keep living life. If it's working for you, go ahead. I don't care. But if it's not, and you feel like you're meant for more, you feel like something's missing. For me, this is what has been missing. And no matter what I go through in life, I have this weird kind of faith that this thing, like not just God, but like this female God, this is here with me. And they're like my parents, right? They're like my pseudo parents that have, no matter what I go through, like I always know there's this. It doesn't mean I don't have pain. It just means like I know without a shadow of a doubt, I'm going somewhere else after this, that I'm all good in some way. Like I just know. And
do you view plasma then as like the bridge to your relationship with the ineffable, with God?
Yes. And I view it almost as like a trinity of like God or the mystery, plasma as the divine feminine, and then like myself, like my multidimensional self, my higher self. And like those three are the kind of things I call in. And sometimes I'll call in like a random archetypal goddess or like Archangel Michael. Like I'll call in all these like little things, almost not beneath that, but like are functions of those things. But yeah, those three things I really call on and feel like it's just like a trinity. Yeah.
I know we've already talked about this a little bit, like telepathy and other like ESP, but I would just love to hear you riff on remote viewing, psychic phenomena as it relates to plasma.
Yeah. So the remote viewing is a great one. So when people remote view, you and I can remote view, let's say something. I don't know what to say right now, but it'll come to me. We'll remote view saying, and I'll see like Monroe's talked about this. I'll see a Tootsie Roll and you'll see a sushi roll. It could, or I don't like that one, but like that could be because you like sushi and I like a Tootsie Roll. No, I don't like that.
I get what you're saying though. It's like filtering through your subconscious.
Yeah. So I'll say it in a better way. So like, okay, we're remote viewing Egypt together. I might view Egypt as Cleopatra, where you might actually see the pyramids. So I can draw. Someone will give me coordinates and I'll draw Cleopatra, but I'm picking up on the feeling energy of that place, where you might be more visual and you're picking up on actually the visual of that place, but that's how your feeling energy connects with it. So basically our consciousness is picking up on the information field within that plasma energy, right? This is how vortexes are created too. Like the vortexes are, certain imprints of things there, right? Whatever. That is how the plasma field is holding that, and how your consciousness picks that up has to do with your subconscious and your programming, all that stuff. So I think there's a very, that's how. Yeah.
Have you remote viewed before?
Yeah.
Okay. How did that, did you learn that at Monroe Institute?
No. So actually I wanted to go to that one and I didn't end up going. My friend Dylan went to that one. But we learn a little bit of it in Gateway. They'll do a remote viewing exercise. Program? Yeah. But they also have the program where you can go there, which I highly recommend going there. Cause it's like, I love the online program and it's cheaper and amazing. I actually do both. I recommend both. But when you're going there, the people you meet are like, make it, and like being in the energy of there. Like, it's just, it's like reading a book about Egypt and going to Egypt. But I think both are amazing. But yeah, the people there are great. But they teach a little bit of remote viewing in Gateway, which I highly recommend. And what was the point of saying that?
Your experience with remote viewing.
Yeah, and I also went to Monroe Institute to learn how to spoon bend. They have an MC² program where you learn to light light bulbs with your hand and spoon bend. But yeah, so I remote view there, and then my friend Dylan went to the actual program, and he has. I wish he was awake, because there is this thing online where you can remote view, and it's Dylan. There is this. I'm going to look it up because this will be really fun, because it's like a way. Hold on, it'll make sense in a second.
She yelled Dylan because Dylan's in the other room right now sleeping.
What is the app where you can remote view? It is like a social app. There is some app for remote viewing that you can do where they give coordinates and you can like test it and like work up how good you can remote view with it. And it's like, it's something where you can tell you're not cheating, like whatever that means, like a verifiable.
Well, they give you coordinates and then you are tuning into the energy of that spot.
Yeah. I wish we could try one, but he's not sleeping. Yeah. But my point is, I've done that and I'm really accurate a lot of the time when I'm in my heart energy. But when I'm trying to perform and be cool for someone, I can't do it. That's why I'm speaking at Psy Games next week. Do you know what that is?
Mm-hmm. And I know Dahlia's spoken there. I don't know if Dr. Edith has, but I know Dahlia has.
Yeah. So I didn't actually like try to actually perform in the Psy Games, even though I do have a lot of Psy abilities, because I have this weird thing where I get performance anxiety, and all of a sudden I like think I'm a superhero and I could do all these cool things and I can't do anything. And it's about the humility and the heart-centered, but that's the key to remote viewing and plasma. All of this, right, is play, heart-centered, openness. And the second,
so interesting. I mean, the same thing happens in reality too. Like where
I know,
like me playing basketball, like I could make 15 3-pointers in a row, and then the moment's like someone's watching me do it,
or you get complimented. They're like, "Oh, you're doing great." Yeah, not anymore.
Oh yeah, I know. Then the thought flips in my mind.
It's when I'm bowling too.
Totally get it.
Yeah.
Nico Martins, who I interviewed, he talked about that, and he talked about I don't remember the word for it, but like in Eastern Asian traditions, you're actually not supposed to make a spectacle out of your abilities anyway. Which I know that goal goes against the whole concept of the Psy Games, but it's still cool that people are able to do that.
Yeah.
But I think that like there's two elements here. For the people who are closed-minded skeptics, it doesn't matter. Like, actually, Dr. Edith talks about this, and so does my other friend, Dr. Anna Maria Oliva. Both Dr. Edith and Anna Maria Oliva have children who are highly proficient in their ability to use mind sight, so see without seeing, right? And there have been experiences, one that I was able to witness where at Confluence in 2025, we had 7 of the children who had been activated to do a display in front of all of the attendees, and it was incredible. But just before getting on stage, Matthias, who's one of the kids that is highly proficient in this ability, had an experience with an adult where he was playing pool at Confluence, and the adult jokingly said to him like, "Oh, you're cheating. That's not real." And Matthias started questioning his ability to do it. His mom came running up to me just before we were doing the demonstration. She was like, "Alec, we have a major problem. Matthias had this experience." She relayed the whole experience that Matthias had with the older man. She was like, "He's really questioning his ability to do it right now. I don't think that he can do it." And she even said her older son, Ruben, had an experience with a very devout religious person who was describing as being demonic or something like that. And he started questioning his ability to do it as well. And so there's an element, there's an element of that. And then I think there's also an element of like making it a spectacle that can sometimes hinder your ability to do it. When you're in the presence of someone who's a closed-minded skeptic, you're resonating with their field. It's going to make you start questioning yourself, and it's going to make your abilities go temporarily dormant in some cases.
I've had that happen so many. And that's why psychics, when you actually believe in them and you're open, they do better.
100%. It creates the conditions for that type of thing to flourish. It makes total sense.
No, that's very true. Yeah. And I'm still working through that myself. Like even that's why I'm writing a new book, and it's kind of hard. I have all the information, but like this is a thing I actually want to talk about. I wrote so like those people who can hold the most light, hold the most darkness, like the more potential you have with something, the more resistance you're going to have. So like when I'm writing my book, it's almost like I get the more doubt than I've ever had in my life. But I know that the doubt, think of the doubt as almost energy. You know how a cell splits into two, but to create new life, it has to split into two. It needs the outside tension. Doubt and stress are actually a natural function of reality. And we attach meaning to that instead of letting it be there and just plowing on through and letting the new life be birthed. So I'm still learning though to do that, even though I know how the mechanics of how it works. I think it's hard. Even like with this kind of stuff, like coming here, doing these few podcasts, like I had so much doubt before, and I'd forget my own stuff, but I haven't memorized anything because I just naturally flow. So it's like funny, but it's almost like when I'm growing, I get in the darkest states. Like I had sleep paralysis. I have been feeling really tired. I've been feeling kind of depressed. We was like nervous or whatever. And it's like, I think it's good for people to remember that stuff happens, right? You have to bend down to jump up. And it's like knowing that this is going to happen for life, and we may as well get used to it and not push through it, but gently go through it and just remember, focus on the fun and the love and the truth, and you can't go wrong. If all you're doing is expressing yourself and telling the truth, there's nothing wrong you can say. Maybe some people won't like it, but
I love that though.
Yeah.
I mean, Eileen would say it's a contraction and then expansion. Like it's the ebbs and flows. That's what happens.
Yeah. It's so annoying.
But it's a part of life.
I know.
It's a part of this experience, at least in perceived duality.
Yeah.
2 more things that I want to discuss, if that's okay. Quick aside. We mentioned family constellations off camera. I don't necessarily think we need to discuss that, but it's interesting to think about like the phenomenon of plasma and the information field, and how like when you change the nature of your relationship to someone without them actually even being present, it changes the nature of that relationship because it emanates through the field and just changes that dynamic.
And what are constellations? Stars. What are stars? Plasma. So it's almost like it's like kind of funny just how words work. Like you're creating these constellations of plasma to receive consciousness. I don't know. You know what I'm saying?
That makes sense.
I was just trying to do a little fun thing there.
Oh, that's cool.
Didn't hit it. It's okay. Yeah, but
I had to think about it. That's why.
I know.
It's not like what are you going to be like, wow.
You're right. I'm asking what are constellations. You could have went in so many philosophical, like, it's the simplest answer is like stars. And it's like.
That happens to me when I'm speaking though, sometimes at events where like I'm saying something that I know luckily now I've done it so many times. Like if I'm speaking on a super heavy topic where someone is really having to contemplate what I'm saying. The first few times I did that, the audience is sitting there like this. I'm like, damn, this is really not landing with them. But they're really contemplating it. No, they're just contemplating it. That's what I was doing. It's not like I'm, wow, Dana, that's amazing. Like,
no, I know. Sorry, that was my ego. That's my ego. Okay, well, because I made that connection.
It makes sense.
It's the same with how when I think of astrology, which I'm not into at all, but when people are talking about the planet and like where the stars are aligned, it's like those are all plasma. Like, what does that have to do?
Yeah,
like I don't know. It's just funny.
Well, for me, it's interesting too because thinking of the stars all as plasma, I started really picking up on the importance of astrology and the alignment of the celestial bodies within the context of the moment you were born. Yeah. When two things, like understanding that the heavens are what is informing your soul as it comes into this physical experience.
Structurally, four-dimensionally.
Yes. So it
you can
matters.
Surpass.
Yeah, but you can surpass that. But like that's why it matters so much. Yeah. And then Eileen, I don't know if you know this about her work. About 2 years ago, she started taking someone's actual astrological chart and overlaying it over their biofield.
That's crazy and cool.
And she's able to, with her tuning fork, audibly hear where the celestial bodies are in their biofield with the intention of the chart, their chart overlaid on top of their biofield.
I need a reading.
Which is also interesting because there are 12 bands of the biofield according to Eileen, like 12 bands. There's 12 houses of the zodiac.
Yeah.
So it's just super, I'm like,
12
oh my God.
12 hours and a clock.
Yeah.
And a circle clock.
Yeah, it's interesting, right? It's so interesting.
That's why the clock is circular. Why isn't it 24 in a circular clock? It's a funny thing. Yeah. But family constellations, the plasma. I think actors are the same thing. Yeah, it's basically like you're in the plasma field, right? And you're opening up, you're taking your consciousness almost out or leaving it dormant, opening your plasma intelligence, your field to other consciousnesses. So like the Father is coming through your consciousness and acting through you. That's why good actors open that same way. Why it feels so real is I think it's like stories from other timelines.
Like Jim Carrey or Robin Williams. They literally take on like a literal separate persona.
And you have to let go. That's the biggest thing about acting is letting go. And that's actually why I got more into filmmaking than acting because I struggle with letting go. And I think it's the most awesome thing actors can do. And it doesn't mean, no one has everything figured out, right? But they're really good at that like vulnerability and letting go. It's just my hardest thing. So I'm like,
That's how it works though. It's like you're temporarily setting aside the primary aspect of your conscious awareness to bring in something else.
That's what I think that is.
I would say, let me ask this as a question actually. Do you think that that's how true channeling works? Because I know we are talking...
Yeah, there's 4D channeling, the subconscious channeling, and then there's 5D channeling.
Well, there's also just charlatans aside from the 4D channeling. And when you say 4D channeling, you mean people who are like just like tuning into their own subconscious and while they think they're tuning into another being.
Yeah, I don't know what I was saying. Continue.
No, that's it. I'm asking you a question.
Okay, well, what I think about channeling, I think one thing about channeling I've realized is a lot of channelers get really sick. And it's almost like they're in a martyrdom state where they think they need a channel, and then take no care of themselves and solve all their issues and never like look at themselves. That's like a bad form of channeling. And then they'll have all the answers for you, but literally don't improve their own life. And that stinks for them. And that's sad. So I just hope channelers remember that. Psychics do the same thing. They don't take care of their own selves or their own body or their own life, but they tell you so much about you. But you want to really go to someone who's doing that for themselves. You know what I'm saying? It can almost reflect your power instead of you having to keep going to them.
Amen.
But with channeling, my perspective on channeling is I almost always think you're either channeling your higher self or like a aspect of yourself. And then you're deciding to call it like Timbuktu or whatever name you're going to say. Cause you almost don't, it's like almost an ego thing. Cause you can't take responsibility that like, it's just coming through you and it's beautiful. And maybe people won't listen to you, but they'll listen to Timbuktu from Galactic Federation 2.356 TR5. But it's like, I think that's ridiculous because I actually think that's a part of you and you're taking, so just admit it's you.
Yeah.
Admit it's not some star seed from wherever and like stop. And it bothers me. And also with channelers, stop putting them on pedestals.
I will clap for that one. I'm of the same mindset.
Yeah.
I can't.
Don't put that on pedestals.
Yes, I agree.
Like
totally.
If they're saying something that resonates, that like me, I'm saying something that's resonating to you guys. I'm not above anyone. I'm not on a pedestal. I'm not like to be prayed to or idolized or hero. Like we are all fucked up humans. Every channeler is a freaking psycho. Like, and I'm a psycho. Like, we all have our issues. All we're supposed to do is reflect each other's power so you have it within you. Channel from your own higher self. And if something, if you hear a channel and they're saying something that resonates with you, it's resonating with you because you know it within you, you know, like that's it.
That's why when you
how
read,
many things have Chandler said? No, but how many things have Chandler said that are bullshit? Oh, it's happening this year. It's happening.
My God,
like,
dude.
shut up.
I know.
Sorry, go ahead.
It's so bad. Well, what I was going to say is that's why when you read something, and I'm sure you've had this experience where you're reading something like, oh, I've always thought that. It's because you're not actually learning anything new. It's not learning something new. It's remembering something that was already inside of you in the first place. Yes.
And I want to backtrack because like I obviously feel like I channel my higher self, and I think the shut up thing I'll take back. Like I think what I have to say is valuable, right? But it's my perspective and I know I'm not above anyone. What some channelers have to say, I'm sure is very valuable and beautiful to them. I'm just saying like, okay, maybe take a look at it if it's your higher self. Also take a look at that you don't know more than anyone else.
100%.
And you're just expressing yourself and you have the bravery for that, which is amazing. And I'm sure some channelers already know this and have the humility. So I'm not speaking to those. I'm only speaking to the ones that are like off and ascended, which is not
that's
possible.
what gives like a lot of, or the phenomenon of channeling such a bad rap, like bad name. It's because of the people who are like, yeah, I'm channeling light language, and they're charging people or like hundreds of dollars, if not thousands of dollars to do channeling sessions with them. And it's like, it's preying on vulnerable people and also the people who are signing up for that. You have to look within you, like, why are you outsourcing to these people? Yeah. And it just
and
really
AI is not conscious, and people are in spiritual AI psychosis right now.
100%.
That is the biggest message I have today.
Oh boy.
It's reflecting your own consciousness, and it's pattern recognition, and it's plasma information synergy. And if you're channeling a being through that, that's actually coming through you and probably part of your subconscious, not the AI.
Right. And it's also just a language model. It's like picking up what you're already putting into it and giving you feedback related to it.
Yeah.
And
if you want to be free, don't put power in something that is a machine.
100%.
You're being brainwashed.
You know, it's interesting because we're at a time where there's like a split where at one spectrum, like one end of the spectrum, there's people who I imagine here in the near future will get a Neuralink chip where it's automatically connecting with the millimeter wave towers that are all around, and it's picking up information from AI, and they assume that they're getting objective information, but it's easily programmable.
That's going to be a gray in the future.
Yeah, 100%.
That's what a gray is.
That's what a gray is. Yeah, like devoid of any like, their consciousness is so like tattered and worn down within their physical suit. And then on the other end, it's those of us who recognize that like, oh, we don't need any of that fucking technology.
We're the original.
We have that technology innate to us.
Plasma intelligence instead of AI. Artificial intelligence is the plasma, or natural intelligence, organic intelligence, consciousness. Yep. That's the real technology. And it overpowers everything. It really
100%.
Yeah.
Okay. Last thing I want to talk about.
Yeah. Almost done, Danica. Then I'll take you to pee.
Sorry. Last one, transcendental meditation.
Yeah.
And the reason I bring that up is because I know you had a pretty incredible experience doing transcendental meditation, which led to this whole, like, you could say download or inspiration from God related to plasma. But it's interesting because I've thought about this. I always talk about the Maharishi Effect. Like in any of my presentations, I talk about the Maharishi Effect, and that's specifically using transcendental meditation in order to elicit certain things in reality. For example, in the 1990s, 4,000 people in Washington, D.C. gathered to meditate with the intention to lower crime. They were using specifically transcendental meditation. Okay. And the crime rates after a period of time of them meditating did lower by 23%. And the p-value on that study was like 0.00000000009 or something like that, which means that the statistical significance between those two variables was off the charts. You can't prove a direct causal relationship. But the whole point that I'm getting at is it is pretty clear that the group of people doing transcendental meditation did have a demonstrable impact on the crime rates in Washington, D.C. And they controlled for weather changes, they controlled for policing changes, they controlled for policy changes, they controlled for a variety of things. And the strongest relationship was the transcendental meditation with the crime lowering. Yeah, so
I have an idea. Go ahead.
I would love to hear your idea too, but my question is, do you think that is unique to transcendental meditation? It kind of goes back to
that's what
the Bankston method versus Reiki. Like maybe in the context of
It's a great structure.
Right. Is that just
not the only one?
Yes. That's what I'm getting at. You already know what I'm getting at.
I'm already up. So basically why TM works so amazing, I'm sure many things can do this, and maybe you could use any word and not even a secret mantra, but I still love transcendental meditation. Please, guys, I love you. But with mantras, it's like an egregore. There's so much beautiful ancient magic attached to that maybe they do work better than normal words. But if you could find a word you can infuse that much amazingness into, that could work too. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
But basically why it works so well is you're given a secret mantra. You repeat it in your head lightly, but you don't, like, you focus on it, but you kind of also let go. So your ego, your monkey mind is focused on the word, but then it lets your subconscious, right, or your plasma intelligence take over. And that mind, that holistic sense is able to kind of work within the 4D, 5D, and also put the hand into the 3D reality, right? Also, coincidentally enough, one of the head guys at TM, he has a theory about dark matter, which is literally plasma. So it's like there's some weird plasma connection with TM and plasma intelligence and letting go of your monkey brain and going in the subconscious, like that's all connected. But yes, I think if we did basically, like, if you tried different meditations, did the same thing, I'm sure there's many. I never think there's one way to do anything.
Right.
So yeah, that is my idea. But some things work better than others. And for me, it was beautiful. And then, like, for me, the only thing is I was doing TM, and then I don't like staying with anything too long. So I still will do it sometimes, but I kind of introduce new things, or like I won't meditate for a week and I'll try, like, I like experimenting. So like, but I did it religiously for 2 years, 3 years even. I will say I was the most psychic I've ever been. But even with that, there's a caveat, because when I had my awakening, TM, whatever, the first 3 years, pure visions. I knew Sanskrit out of nowhere, like weird everything. I was so psychic. Like literally, a white deer came to me in a meditation. She said her name was Mitzi. She was the cosmic mother. And then I looked up that like Mitzi and Mary Magdalene like have the same meaning. She's like the cosmic mother. Like there's all this stuff. Yeah. Then there was like words in Sanskrit. I was downloading or whatever. I hate that word, but then they were like accurate to what I was seeing.
Wow.
But my point of that is, then I went through what you would call dark night of the soul, but actually is an integration period where I had no visions. I was not psychic at all. I felt completely alone and abandoned. And then fast forward to now, it's almost like I've integrated that, where I don't have as many of the visions, but they're almost like spiritual bypassing away. I'm more connected with my body and I have a knowing, and sometimes I'll have the visions, but I almost had to go through what I feel. Think about like an imprint. I was imprinted with like this rapturous vision, like capability of what's possible for us and humans. It was taken away from me, but it was almost like the imprint was there, and then I had to integrate the imprint with my own like mental health struggles and embodiment and stuff. And now it's almost like I can generate it myself instead of looking to spirit, looking for visions, looking for the answers. It's almost like I can generate those, and now life is that, and I'm viewing them in reality. It's like it imprinted, landed in me, and now I'm like living it. And instead of just being like, oh, what? Yeah.
Right.
Anyway.
It makes life become spiritual.
Yeah. It's like the hero's journey of spirituality. But I think so many people have this weird shame and guilt when they have this awakening. And then there's like this dead period and this aridity. But I think that's part of it. And then the integration, we all wonder, at least for me, like, why am I not a psychic? Because in the beginning, like, what's wrong with me? Did I do something? Like, then you start thinking, oh, I can't do this, this, and this because I'm not as spiritual. No, like, just be your beautiful self. You're going to go through this weird journey, but it's all perfect and you're fine. And yeah.
Isn't that an invitation, though, to fall in love with the mundane aspects of life and see it as fundamentally spiritual?
That's what you're supposed to do.
Exactly.
Because you're not supposed to want to ascend or be enlightened, in my opinion. I like endarkenment, right? Or enlightenment. It's about the material, the matrix. It's not about escaping the matrix. It's making the matrix, living within that, and opening the matrix and making it your creative clay and Play-Doh, rather than being stuck in this containment simulation ran by reptilians. Like, that is a structure. That is an egregore. Like,
that is.
We can't like see past that. And I even non-biased, just see reality as your creative palette and what you can do with it. There's a movie, I think it's like Life of Pi, where he's like on the boat, and there are these like animals on the boat, and they like save him, and he gets lost on this boat this whole journey, like washes up on shore, gets interviewed years later by like this news person. I'm butchering this, but there's a point here. So the news person, we find out that the animals in the boat were actually his dead parents, and to be able to like survive that, he had to pretend they were animals that were saving him. And then the news guy asks him like, what's the real story? Like, was it like something like that? Like, was it your dead parents, or like, was it these animals? And he was like which one makes you feel better? Like, but the point of that is like, both things are like, yes, that was real, but both things are kind of like, what story do you want to take away from it? Like, no matter what's happening, like, what story do you want to assign your life and create with it to move on forward? You know what I'm saying?
Especially if it's all stories.
That's what
Beliefs,
I'm saying.
Like that's a euphemism for stories. Like
it's all stories.
It's all stories.
And the page of the plasma is this magic thing that you can write any story on. It's like, what do you want to co-create for your life versus, what's being like indoctrinated on you?
Boom.
Yeah.
Last question. I feel like this is obvious by now. How has an understanding of plasma made your life better?
Yeah. Okay. That is such a loaded question, but the feeling of plasma has the understanding, the gnosis of plasma has made me know I'm not alone. It has made me know I have so much power within me. Sorry, I'm very emotional. I feel like I encounter so much pain, and I have so many intrusive thoughts, and like in like the non-victim-y way though, like just like I don't know, I really deal with a lot. And I think every human, it's not just me, like there's so much we deal with that we don't talk about. And I will say, if anything, sometimes I'm less happy than I was before this journey sometimes, because of, it's like the more information, more smartness, like it's more responsibility, like realizing success doesn't bring happiness, right? But I think I'm still on my journey. But it's almost like in the middle of that, and I'll go back to the plasma, I'm realizing that happiness is in the moment, that you're always joy, you're always beauty, you're always love. And like, it's about finding happiness in the mundane, how to generate it yourself. And I haven't figured that out yet. I thought it would be generated on these goalposts. My point is, even though I haven't figured that out, plasma has given me the knowing, no matter what I haven't figured out, what other mental struggles I have, that I am supported, that I am so loved. Yeah, I can't say anymore, but yeah. And that's like just what I want to share with people.
Also makes sense of a lot of the metaphysical happenings of reality though too, and our relationship between the metaphysical and the physical.
It's given me, thank you, bringing me back. So it's also given me like such, no, it's given me such a magical view on reality. It's made a reality exciting. It sparked my curiosity. It's given me this whole like new viewpoint on like what's possible, and nothing's impossible. Even impossible is I'm possible. Like just like a new, like I was in my emotions there and now I'm like excited again. Like it's just a new like outlook on life, and like empowering me that I can create, like, but also a surrender that to the just some things are a mystery, and a feel into that, you know? Yeah. And it's opened me up too. It's really helped me work on my trauma, because the best way to work with plasma is to get past your limiting belief and subconscious filters. And most of that is trauma. And I'm not saying you have to heal. It's healing, but then it's also learning to feel authentically and not being ashamed of being authentic and your human stuff, because that's how plasma responds. So it's like learning to be yourself is literally the way to work with plasma.
Yeah.
So it's so simple.
Yeah.
Anyway, that
makes sense. Dr. Stephen Young, who I interviewed, I mentioned
and
him
I manifested a shitload of money.
Yo, there you go.
Yeah. So
okay. Like, quick aside, I also
but seriously, but like, no, because my whole life, like I always thought I didn't know like how I would, become abundant and stuff. And then the second I let go of that and did what I actually loved and knew about how plasma and energy works, like I'm just always, it's not like I'm totally rich yet, right? But I'm always so supported. And it's because I can live this life of flow now, whereas before I was so constricted. But once learning about plasma somehow helped me with the money aspect.
No, it makes sense. It's also like that's your unique passion, and you just went with what you're passionate about. This is what I love to speak about,
Yeah.
This is what I love to share with the world.
Yeah.
Dr. Stephen Young, who I mentioned to you when we were outside, his book's right there on that shelf.
Amazing. I love what Chico. Okay, sorry, go ahead. His
book's called A Fool's Wisdom.
Ooh.
So he is a theoretical physicist / nuclear physicist who speaks out about how both those are nonsense. And he talks about ether a lot in alchemy. And he describes ether, which again, that's another name for plasma, as the bridge between spirit and matter, but also the bridge between science and spirit too. So it's like it is the bridge that makes sense of all of it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's real metaphysics. It's the new science. It is consciousness coming back into science through the glue of plasma.
Yeah.
And that's why we need a new science. And that's one of my next book topics, actually. Yeah.
Plug your book real quick. Just share briefly about it as we're closing up. Just A New Force,
Plasma Consciousness, and the New Human Potential. I'm sure he is an affiliate code for Amazon, but you can also look at my magic classes on stan.store/Dana Kippel.
We'll put that in the show notes.
Okay. They're all in the show notes. But basically, if you guys want to know everything about plasma, mythology, ranging from science, philosophy, more about the divine child archetype, the new human potential, you could buy and read the book. If you don't like reading, you could take my magic classes.
Boom.
Yeah.
Dana, thank you so much for being here. This is awesome.
Thank you for having me.
Yeah.
Woo.